I'm Anne, and I've been married to my kind husband for 3 years. We were very close, though we didn't have kids yet. We both looked forward to having children one day, until something happened that changed everything. Let me tell you what happened. My husband was always kind to everyone, not just me. My parents loved him, too. I also had a sister who worked a lot. My husband got along well with her, even though she focused only on her job. But then, suddenly, my husband's work got busier. He started coming home late and even worked on his days off. He seemed to have a new team to manage and was always on his phone talking to them. Looking back, people might have thought something was off, but I didn't suspect anything. I just worried about him getting too tired. One day, my sister, who lived alone, needed help finding furniture for her new job. She asked me to take her shopping, but I got a call from my boss and had to go to the office. Since it was my sister's only free day, I didn't know what to do. Then I remembered that my husband had the day off, so I asked him to help. He agreed, even though it felt a little awkward. He also said he needed to borrow my car since his was being repaired. I was grateful and went to take care of work. It was the first time my husband and my sister were out together, so I wondered if they were doing okay, if they found the right furniture, and so on. When I finished at work, it was dark, and I pulled out my phone to call them and plan dinner. That's when I got a call from an unknown number. "Hello, am I speaking to John's family?" a man asked. It was a stranger. "Yes, I'm his wife. This is the police. Your husband has been in an accident." The police officer told me that my husband's car had crashed, and he and his female passenger, my sister, were unconscious. I don't remember what happened next, but I rushed to the hospital. When I arrived, I told the staff my name, and they took me to the ICU. Through the glass, I could see my husband, connected to tubes and wrapped in bandages. I was scared about what would happen to him. My mother, who lived far away, finally came, and we spent a long night at the hospital. The police gave us more details. They said my husband had been driving on a clear road when another car ran a red light and hit him. The other driver was also badly hurt and treated at the same hospital. However, the driver said that my husband's car had been acting strangely before the crash, and they were investigating if he had fallen asleep while driving. A few days later, my husband and my sister woke up, and the doctors did some tests. My mother and I went to hear the results. The doctors said they would survive, but might have disabilities. We were relieved they were alive and hoped they would recover with rehabilitation. We didn't tell them about the disabilities. Instead, we only told them positive things. My mother cared for my sister, and I took care of my husband. At first, my husband was in shock from the accident. He felt terrible about what had happened to me, my mother, and my sister, but over time, he started to change. He became frustrated with his injured leg, the hospital treatments, and having to quit his job. It all made him irritable, and he couldn't control his frustration. Despite that, I kept going to the hospital because I knew he needed support, and I wanted to help him through it. One day, a police detective came to the hospital with some news. He said that the brake fluid in my car had leaked, which might have caused the accident. It seemed that the car had been acting strange before the crash. Because of that, he suggested that this could explain what happened. The woman who hit my car wasn't doing well either, and her mother came to apologize. This was the first time I met her. After that, things with my husband got worse. He started getting angry at me more often. He was upset that I could still move around while he couldn't. He also didn't like that I couldn't be at the hospital for long because of my work. He started ordering me around, yelling at me when I didn't do things the way he wanted. He threw things, complained about his hospital room, and even got mad when I went out to buy my own lunch. His demands kept growing. I felt bad for him, but I had to work to pay the bills, and there was a lot to take care of, like dealing with the police and talking to the hospital. I didn't even have time to relax. My husband's attitude was becoming too much to handle. It was clear he was feeling trapped. My sister seemed to be in a similar situation, and my mother was getting more and more tired. I even heard that my sister was asking my mother, who didn't have a job, to do even more for her. When I couldn't visit the hospital, I heard that both my husband and my sister were told they would be paralyzed even after rehabilitation. Then, I found out about the brake fluid leak in my car. My sister said to me, "I heard your car had a problem. You're the one who was supposed to take care of it. I can't work, and I can't get better because of this. Mom is tired, and your husband is the same. You're going to have to take care of both of us forever." My sister blamed me so much. It shocked me. I called my mother, who told me that my sister had been like this for a long time. My mother said she was too tired to go to the hospital anymore, still worried about my husband. I went to the hospital. When I got there, I couldn't find him in his room, so I went to the common room and saw him sitting alone with my sister. Visiting hours were almost over, and the room was empty except for them. My husband looked at me angrily and said, "I heard if you had just taken the car in for an inspection, none of this would have happened." He then turned to me and said, "You're the reason my sister and I are in this mess. The insurance will pay for it, but you'll be taking care of us for the rest of your life. Don't forget that." That's when I snapped. I asked him, "Since when have you and my sister gotten so close?" He looked confused and asked, "What do you mean?" I replied, "You never visited her much, and now your mom sent her a message saying she can stay because neither of us can leave the hospital, but you're still talking to her more than to your wife?" It felt like my husband and sister were teaming up against me. "I know, right?" I said sarcastically. "You two hadn't seen each other for a long time before the accident, right?" My husband ignored my question, and my sister didn't even look at me. She just nodded when he said she would take care of them both for the rest of their lives. I didn't expect an answer, but I kept asking, hoping they'd understand how I felt. "I wonder if the woman who crashed into your car is getting better now," I said. "How should I know? She ran a red light and hit us. It's unbelievable," my husband replied. "Yeah, it was terrifying. We really need to make sure we get compensation from her. I was so close to getting a promotion too," my sister added. I couldn't just sit there and listen to them complain, so I decided it was time to tell the truth. "I need to tell you something," I said. "What is it?" they both asked. "First of all, I had my car inspected before the accident." "You did? Then the dealer should be sued. They must have known the brake fluid was leaking. Right?" "So, you knew?" my sister asked. "Right after the accident, the police contacted me. They wanted to know the cause, so they asked to see my dashcam footage, but my old camera doesn't record sound, and it doesn't start recording right after an accident, so you couldn't get anything from it." "I see," my husband said, looking confused. "But I got a new dashcam," I continued. My sister's face went pale. "What?" "I also installed a camera inside the car," I added. Her face went even paler. "You know, modern dashcams start recording even with a small shake. The police contacted me and said they had seen the footage." My husband and sister both froze. I could see the shock on their faces. "You two were up to something, weren't you?" I asked, confronting my sister. "What do you mean? Did you do something to the car?" my husband asked, starting to panic. "Why are you talking to my sister like that? Don't talk to her like she's your girlfriend," my husband shouted. I paused, then said, "I told you earlier, the camera records with just a slight vibration, and guess what? The footage has plenty of intimate moments between you two." I couldn't believe it when the police asked if my sister was in the car with my husband. My husband's face went pale. "You were having an affair this whole time?" I said. "You were both lying to me." My husband started blaming my sister. "Mary isn't the only one to blame here." Just then, the mother of the woman who crashed into my car arrived at the hospital. I had invited her. "Do you have anything to say to her?" I asked my sister. My sister looked confused. "Who is this?" "This is the mother of the woman who hit you," I said. "She's the one who should be paying for all of this." My husband stopped talking when he saw the woman crying. "Her name is Alice. I'm sure you know who she is," I added. My husband's face went completely white, and my sister was in shock. "Wait, do you know the woman who was driving the car?" my sister asked. "That means they knew it was your car that they crashed into," I explained. "Who is she?" my husband asked, looking lost. I decided to tell my sister everything. She was having an affair with John. He told her he was going to divorce me, but he didn't. When Alice lied and said she was pregnant with his child, John told her to get an abortion. After that, she couldn't get in touch with him, and she wanted to hurt me to get revenge. "Wait, so that means..." "Right, you were in the wrong place at the wrong time." "I can't believe this ruined my life," my sister moaned. "The truth is, there's nothing you can do now, no matter how much you cry or scream. You're not exactly an innocent person in all of this," I said, letting out all my frustration. "Now you understand what happened. You were having an affair with my husband, and Mary tampered with my car's brake fluid to hurt me, but she got in the car herself and ended up in an accident. I'm the victim here. I was willing to try and work things out if you apologized and confessed, but you never did. You treated me horribly instead." Do you remember when we signed our divorce papers right after we got married? I never thought I'd use them, but I've submitted them today. We're done. Goodbye. With that, I left the dark, quiet hospital, feeling lighter for finally expressing everything I'd been holding inside. My mother was deeply shocked when she found out the truth. Not only was she devastated by my sister's affair, but she also felt the weight of having to care for her disabled daughter alone. Although I cut ties with John and Mary, I couldn't leave my mother to handle everything on her own. So, I reached out to the woman responsible for the accident, apologized, and asked her to compensate my sister, who was caught up in the accident by mistake, so my mother wouldn't have to worry. 2 years have passed since then. John and I are divorced, and I'm living on my own. Our divorce surprised my coworkers because we had been seen as such a close couple. Afterward, many men started approaching me, asking for advice. I thought maybe it was just a phase where men are attracted to recently divorced women, but even though I had some interest in them, the image of my ex-husband still lingered in the back of my mind, and I couldn't bring myself to date again. Instead, I focused on my career. I studied hard for a certification exam and even enrolled in an online business school after work. When I was married, I never imagined I would want to do something like that. I had never envied my sister, a career woman, and never thought I'd want to be one, but here I was, naturally working toward that goal. Life is strange, I thought. After the divorce, John moved back in with his parents, but they saw him as a burden. His relatives blamed him for his actions toward me, and I heard he wasn't doing well mentally. He had been acting violently, causing trouble for everyone around him. My sister also moved back home, but she became mentally ill and continued to act selfishly. My mother, exhausted, used my sister's savings and the accident compensation to put her in a care home. She had asked for my opinion, but I didn't oppose it. I told her she could do whatever she felt was best. If I hadn't realized what was going on, I would have spent my life as a slave to both of them. I'm glad I woke up when I did. I passed the certification exam I had been working toward, and I was transferred to a department where I could use my skills. I became close with the teacher from my online business school, and we're soon to be married, not to someone who's just kind to everyone, but to someone who's very kind to me. When I come home late from work, he makes sure to come home early to prepare dinner for us. I cherish this small happiness. Those are the thoughts I carry with me as I head home to where my partner waits for me.
The sound of excited squeals and laughter drifted up from our driveway, cutting through the quiet of Christmas morning. I stood at the kitchen window, coffee mug warming my hands, watching my younger sister Tessa jump up and down beside a brand new red Volkswagen Beetle, complete with an enormous silver bow on top. My parents beamed as they handed her the keys, their faces glowing with pride. My name is Lila, and this was the moment I realized I'd always be the afterthought in my family story. Oh my God, I can't believe you guys did this. Tessa's voice carried through the glass. She was already sitting in the driver's seat, running her hands over the steering wheel like it was made of gold. I glanced at the stack of scratch-off lottery tickets sitting on the counter, my modest Christmas gifts to everyone. They hadn't even bothered to open them yet. The tickets had been all I could afford after putting every spare penny into my culinary school applications, but trying to explain that to my family would have been pointless. They'd made their opinions about my hobby clear enough. Lila. My mother's voice startled me. She was standing in the doorway, still wearing her coat. Why aren't you outside with everyone? Come see your sister's car. I forced a smile. Just finishing my coffee, Mom. She frowned, that familiar look of disappointment crossing her face. You could try being happy for her, you know. This is a big moment.
Right.
Because I'm the one who makes everything about myself. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Don't start, she warned. Not today. I bit my tongue and watched her head back outside. Through the window, I could see my father showing Tessa how to adjust her mirrors, wearing the proud smile I'd never managed to earn. Not when I made honor roll, not when I won the regional cooking competition, not even when I got accepted to culinary school, before they refused to help with tuition. My hand drifted to the lottery tickets. Out of habit, I started scratching off the numbers on one, not really paying attention until something caught my eye. 3 matching numbers. My heart started racing as I double-checked the winning combinations. $50,000. I stared at the ticket, my hands shaking. With this money, I could afford culinary school. I could start building my dream of opening my own restaurant. I could finally prove to everyone that my hobby was worth something. But this ticket was meant to be a gift. The right thing would be to give it to them. Watch them celebrate another stroke of luck that would probably go toward Tessa's college fund or a family vacation I wouldn't be invited on. Outside, Tessa honked the horn playfully, and my parents laughed. None of them had even noticed I wasn't there. I made my decision in that moment. Carefully, I folded the winning ticket and slipped it into my pocket. The rest of the scratch-offs, I gathered up and dropped in the recycling bin. They wouldn't miss what they hadn't bothered to open. Lila. My father's voice boomed from outside. Get out here and take a family picture. I walked to the front door, but paused with my hand on the knob. Through the window, I could see them clustered around the car, their breath visible in the cold December air. They looked complete without me, the perfect family of 3. Coming, I called back, but instead of joining them, I headed upstairs to my room. I had a laptop open to apartment listings within an hour, the winning ticket tucked safely in my wallet. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting out. And thanks to their forgotten Christmas gift, I finally had my chance. The key felt heavy in my hand as I unlocked the door to my new apartment. It wasn't much, a studio above a Thai restaurant downtown, but it was mine. The smell of lemongrass and garlic wafted up through the floorboards, making my stomach growl despite everything. 3 weeks had passed since Christmas, and my phone was still lighting up with missed calls from home. I'd left a note explaining I needed space, but that hadn't stopped the barrage of texts from my mother, each one more guilt-laden than the last. You're being selfish, Lila. Your sister needs you right now. I dropped my duffel bag on the bare mattress in the corner and started unpacking the few kitchen items I'd brought. My knife roll, a well-seasoned cast-iron pan, and the basic essentials. The winning lottery ticket was safely deposited, the money already allocated for culinary school tuition and this apartment's security deposit. A knock on my door made me freeze. Had they somehow found me? Hello? New tenant. The voice was unfamiliar, heavily accented. I'm Marco from downstairs. I opened the door to find a tall man in chef's whites, his salt and pepper hair tied back in a short ponytail. The name on his jacket read, Executive Chef. I noticed someone moving in, he said, gesturing to my boxes. Wanted to introduce myself. We try to keep a family atmosphere here. The word family made me wince, but something about his warm smile put me at ease. My eyes caught on the knife roll visible through my open door. You cook? He asked, following my gaze. I try to. I'm actually starting culinary school next month. His eyes lit up. No kidding? We're short-staffed downstairs. Could use someone who knows their way around a kitchen, even part-time. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. My father's name flashed on the screen. Complicated situation? Marco asked, noting my expression. You could say that. He nodded thoughtfully. Listen, come down tomorrow morning if you're interested. Sometimes the best therapy is keeping your hands busy and your knives sharp. After he left, I finally listened to my father's voicemail. His voice was gruff, angry. Your mother's upset, and Tessa's grades are slipping. Whatever point you're trying to make, you've made it. Time to grow up and come home. I deleted the message and opened my laptop, pulling up the culinary school website. The first term's tuition was due next week. My finger hovered over the Submit Payment button when another text came through, this time from Tessa. Mom and Dad are freaking out. Where are you? I'm worried. This one hurt more than the others. Tessa and I might not have been close, but she wasn't responsible for our parents' behavior. Still, I couldn't risk telling her the truth. She'd never been able to keep secrets from our parents. I'm safe, I typed back. Just need some time. The next morning, I found myself in Marco's kitchen, chopping vegetables with more focus than necessary. The rhythmic motion was soothing, familiar. Marco worked beside me, occasionally offering tips on technique. You have good instincts, he said, watching me adjust the heat under a simmering sauce. But you're angry. It shows in your cooking. Is that a bad thing? He shrugged. Depends what you do with it. Anger can fuel passion or destroy it. The difference is in the control. My phone buzzed in my pocket, another text from my mother. I ignored it, The people who hurt us, Marco continued, testing the sauce with a spoon. They don't suffer when we let them consume our thoughts. They don't even know. The only one who suffers is us. I thought about the lottery ticket, about my silent escape. Sometimes they need to learn they can't take people for granted. Perhaps. He handed me the spoon. But make sure your revenge doesn't become your purpose. Taste this. What's missing? I sampled the sauce, considering salt and maybe a touch of acid. He smiled. Exactly. Balance is everything, in cooking and in life. The kitchen door swung open, and a server rushed in. Chef, there's a woman out front asking about Lila. Says she's her mother. My heart stopped. Through the kitchen window, I could see her scanning the dining room, Tessa trailing behind her like a shadow. Marco looked at me questioningly. Back door through the alley, he said quietly. But remember, you can't run forever. Eventually, you have to stand your ground and serve what you've prepared. I nodded, already untying my apron. The real test wasn't in running away, it was in choosing when to stay and fight. 3 months into culinary school, I finally felt like I was finding my rhythm. Between morning classes, afternoon shifts at Marco's restaurant, and late nights planning my own future kitchen, I barely had time to think about my family. That should have been my first warning that everything was about to implode. I was prepping for dinner service when Amelia walked into Marco's kitchen. My old friend from high school cooking club, now a rising star chef at one of the city's top restaurants. She looked exactly as I remembered. Perfectly styled hair, crisp chef's whites, and that smile that never quite reached her eyes. Lila Hawkins, she said, leaning against the prep table. I heard rumors you were working here, but I couldn't believe it. Shouldn't you be running your own place by now? I kept chopping vegetables, maintaining the steady rhythm Marco had taught me. Still learning. Not all of us had parents paying our way through Le Cordon Bleu. Speaking of parents, she pulled out her phone, scrolling through something. I ran into your mom at that charity dinner last week. She seemed worried about you. My knife slipped, nearly catching my finger. You talked to my mother? She mentioned something about you stealing money and running away. Pretty dramatic, even for you. The kitchen suddenly felt too hot, too small. That's not what happened. No. She raised an eyebrow. Because I also heard from some investors, I know that you've been shopping around a business plan for a restaurant. Interesting timing, considering. My hands were shaking now. What do you want, Amelia? Want? I'm just concerned about my old friend. Starting a restaurant takes more than just money, you know. It takes connections, reputation, stability. She emphasized the last word. Would be a shame if potential investors heard rumors about where your startup capital really came from. Before I could respond, Marco's voice boomed from the doorway. Everything okay in here? Amelia's smile turned syrupy sweet. Just catching up with an old friend. Actually, I came to talk business, Chef Marco. My restaurant is hosting a pop-up event next month, featuring promising new talent. We'd love to have Lila participate. Marco looked at me, but I couldn't meet his eyes. I'll let her think about it, he said firmly. Now, if you'll excuse us, we have service to prepare for. After Amelia left, I gripped the edge of the prep table, trying to steady myself. She's going to tell everyone, I whispered. The investors, my family. Tell them what? Marco asked quietly. I told him everything. The lottery ticket, my escape, the carefully constructed plans now threatening to collapse. He listened without judgment, then handed me a towel to wipe my hands. So now you have a choice, he said. You can run again, or you can face this head-on. How? She'll destroy everything I've worked for. Will she? He picked up my knife, testing its edge. Or will she just expose what you've been afraid to face? Sometimes our biggest fears are just shadows, Lila. They disappear when we shine a light on them. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. It was a screenshot of an email, presumably from Amelia to potential investors, detailing concerns about my financial irregularities and family issues. The pop-up event, Marco continued, could be an opportunity. Show everyone, Amelia, your family, these investors, exactly who you are and what you can do. Or it could be a trap. Most likely both. He smiled. But you're not that scared girl from Christmas morning anymore. You've learned more than just cooking techniques in my kitchen. I thought about the past 3 months, the burns, the cuts, the late nights perfecting recipes. Each small victory had built something inside me that went beyond culinary skills. What's that saying you always use? I asked. The hottest fires make the strongest steel? He nodded. And you, my dear, are about to walk through fire. I picked up my knife and resumed chopping, each cut precise and purposeful. Amelia thought she could use my past to destroy my future. But she'd forgotten the most important rule of the kitchen. Timing is everything. And maybe it was finally time to stop running and start fighting back. Tell her I'm in, I said, for the pop-up event. But I'm doing it my way. Marco's smile turned knowing. Now, that sounds like a chef talking. The text from Tessa came at 3 a.m. Can you meet me? Please? Don't tell Mom and Dad. I found her sitting in her Volkswagen Beetle outside Marco's restaurant, her eyes red and swollen. She'd lost weight since Christmas, her usually perfect hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. I failed 2 classes, she said as I slid into the passenger seat. And I can't tell them. They think I'm applying to pre-med programs, but I haven't even started the applications. The heater hummed softly, filling the silence between us. This was the car that had symbolized everything wrong with our family dynamic. Now it felt like a confession booth. Why pre-med? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Dad's dream. Mom's backup plan. My personal nightmare. She laughed, but it came out more like a sob. How'd he do it, Lila? Just walk away from their expectations. I thought about the lottery ticket hidden in my apartment, about Amelia's threats, about all the lies tangled up in my supposed courage. I'm not sure I'm the best person to ask about making good choices right now. At least you made a choice. She pulled out a crumpled piece of paper from her jacket. I found this in Mom's study. She's been tracking your movements, talking to people around town. She knows about the culinary school. My stomach dropped. Does she know about the money? Not yet. But she's obsessed with figuring out how you're paying for everything. Tessa hesitated. She thinks you're involved in something illegal. Dad's talking about hiring a private investigator. The irony wasn't lost on me. In trying to escape their control, I'd given them even more reason to interfere in my life. There's more, Tessa continued. I overheard Mom talking to Amelia Stone's mother at the country club. They're planning something for that pop-up event, some kind of intervention or confrontation. They want to save you from yourself or whatever. My hands clenched into fists. Of course Amelia would involve our mothers. She knew exactly how to twist the knife. You should tell them the truth, Tessa said quietly. About everything. Like you're telling them the truth about pre-med? She flinched, and I immediately regretted the words. We were both trapped in different versions of the same cage. Maybe, Tessa's voice wavered. Maybe we could help each other? I could come to your pop-up event, run interference with Mom. And you could help me figure out how to tell them about changing my major. To what? Photography. She pulled out her phone, showing me a gallery of stunning food photos. I've been practicing at restaurants around town. That's actually how I found out where you were working. The images were beautiful, playing with light and shadow, capturing the essence of each dish. They were nothing like our mother's rigid, perfectionist approach to everything. These are incredible, Tess. Really? Because sometimes I think I'm just being stupid and selfish, throwing away a real career for something you love? I finished. Yeah, I know that feeling. A car drove past, its headlights sweeping across us. For a moment, I saw us as we really were, 2 sisters, both running from the same shadows, just in different directions. I have to be at the restaurant in 3 hours, I said. Want to come in? I could teach you some plating techniques, give you something interesting to photograph. She smiled, a real smile, not the perfect one she used for her parents. I'd like that. As we walked into Marco's kitchen, I realized something had shifted. The revenge I'd been seeking wasn't just about proving my parents wrong anymore. It was about breaking a cycle, about creating space for both Tessa and me to become something other than what our parents demanded. But first, I had to survive Amelia's pop-up event. And now, knowing our mothers were involved, the stakes were higher than ever. This wasn't just about my future anymore, it was about Tessa's too. "Hey," I said, handing her an apron. "Want to learn how to make Mom's favorite dessert? I have some ideas for improving it." Tessa's grin turned mischievous. "Now that sounds like a photo opportunity." The pop-up event was 3 days away when everything started falling apart. I was in Marco's kitchen, finalizing my menu, when Tessa burst through the back door, clutching her phone. "You need to see this," she said, thrusting the screen at me. It was Amelia's Instagram story. A beautifully plated dish that looked exactly like my signature recipe, the one I'd been developing for months. The caption read, "Sneak peek of our upcoming showcase. Sometimes the best innovations come from unexpected places." My hands trembled as I wiped them on my apron. She's been watching me. Someone's been feeding her information. That's not all. Tessa swiped to another post, a series of photos from a private investor meeting at Amelia's restaurant. In the background of one shot, I could see my mother sitting at the table, her face animated in conversation. The knife I'd been holding clattered against the cutting board. "She's working with Mom?" "I overheard them yesterday. Mom's been telling potential investors about your unstable behavior and questionable finances. They're trying to make sure no one backs your restaurant plans." Marco appeared beside us, his expression grim. "The health inspector just called. Someone filed multiple complaints about our kitchen. They're coming tomorrow, right before your big prep day." The timing wasn't a coincidence. Amelia knew exactly how to hurt me, using my own mother as a weapon. The room started spinning, and I gripped the edge of the prep table. "I can't do this," I whispered. "Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm in over my head."
"No."
Tessa's voice was firm. "That's exactly what they want you to think. But look at this." She pulled up her camera roll, showing me photos she'd taken during our late-night cooking sessions. The images were stunning, capturing not just the food, but the passion and creativity behind each dish. "This is who you are, Lila. Not their lies, not their manipulation. This." Marco picked up my fallen knife, testing its edge the way he always did when making a point. "You know what separates a good chef from a great one? Not talent. Not even creativity. It's what they do when everything goes wrong." "But she stole my recipe. So make a better one." He handed me the knife. "Show them who you really are, not who they think you are." I looked at the knife in my hand, remembering all the nights I'd practiced until my cuts were perfect. All the burns and scars earned through determination rather than natural talent. Amelia might have stolen my recipe, but she couldn't steal my passion. "Tessa," I said slowly, "how good are you at social media marketing?"
She grinned.
"Better than Amelia, that's for sure."
"Good."
"Because I have an idea." I turned to Marco. "Remember that fusion dish we talked about? The one that combines Mom's traditional family recipe with modern techniques." He nodded, a smile spreading across his face. "The one that's too risky? Too controversial?"
"Exactly."
"Amelia wants to play it safe, stick to stolen classics. Let's give them something they can't copy, something that tells our whole story on a plate." I spent the next hours recreating my mother's signature dish, but with each element transformed. The familiar comfort food of my childhood twisted into something new, something that spoke of both tradition and rebellion. Tessa documented every step, her camera capturing the evolution from old to new. When the final plate was ready, even Marco looked impressed. "This isn't just food," he said. "This is your declaration of independence." Tessa posted the photos with a simple caption. "Some recipes are passed down. Others are transformed. Coming soon to at Amelia Stone's showcase event." Within hours, the post went viral in the local food community. Amelia called twice, then texted, "You're making a mistake. Back down now, or everything comes out about the money, about your family, everything." I showed the text to Tessa and Marco, my hand steady for the first time all day. "Let it come out," I said. "I'm done hiding." Marco nodded approvingly. "Now you're cooking with fire." "Just promise me one thing," Tessa said, lowering her camera. "When you face them, all of them, let me be there." Someone needs to document what happens when the golden child and the black sheep finally stand together. The pop-up event was no longer just about revenge or proving myself. It was about breaking free from all the recipes others had written for my life and finally creating my own. The night of the pop-up event arrived with the subtlety of a kitchen fire. I stood in Amelia's prep kitchen, surrounded by other young chefs, all of us competing for the attention of potential investors. My station had been accidentally placed next to a drafty service door, my burners mysteriously running cold. Equipment issues? Amelia's voice dripped with false concern as she passed by. Such a shame. But then, working with subpar tools builds character, doesn't it? I kept my eyes on my prep work, trying to ignore how she'd positioned my mother at a prominent table directly in my line of sight. Evelyn Hawkins sat there like a queen at court, wearing her judgmental expression like a crown. 10 minutes to first service, someone called out. My hands shook as I reached for my sauce, only to find the container empty. I'd filled it just minutes ago, had turned my back for only a moment. Looking for something? Amelia held up a familiar container. Oh, this? Found it by the sink. Looked spoiled, so I tossed it. Health and safety, you know? 3 months of work, gone in an instant. I gripped my knife so hard my knuckles turned white, remembering Marco's words about control under pressure. But this wasn't just pressure. This was calculated destruction. Lila. Tessa appeared at my station, camera in hand. Mom's talking to the investors. She's showing them something on her phone. My stomach dropped. Through the service window, I could see my mother gesturing animatedly, the investors' faces growing serious as they looked in my direction. One of them stood up, shaking his head, and walked out. It's the lottery ticket, Tessa whispered. They know. The room started spinning. Everything I'd built, every careful step toward independence, was crumbling. Without investors, without my signature sauce, without Chef Hawkins. A voice cut through my panic. Health department. We need to discuss some concerning allegations about your food handling practices. Of course. The final nail in the coffin. I looked around the kitchen, at Amelia's triumphant smile, at my mother's satisfied expression, at the other chefs pointedly avoiding eye contact. This was what total defeat felt like. I'm done, I said quietly, untying my apron. They win. No. Tessa grabbed my arm. Remember what you told me about Mom's recipe? About making it your own? So your sauce is gone. Make something better. Something they can't steal or destroy. With what? I have nothing left. You have me. She pulled out her phone, showing me the photos she'd taken of our late-night cooking sessions. And you have this. The last photo stopped me short. It was me in Marco's kitchen, laughing as I experimented with a failed dish that had accidentally turned into something amazing. Something entirely new. Sometimes the best dishes come from disasters. Marco had said that night. I looked at my nearly empty station, at the basic ingredients that remained, at my sister's determined face, at my mother, who was now walking toward us with that familiar expression of disappointment. Lila, she started. This has gone far enough. It's time to. You're right. I cut her off, reaching for my knife. It has gone far enough. Tessa, start filming. What are you doing? Amelia demanded as I began rapidly chopping the few ingredients I had left. I'm cooking, I said, my knife moving with purpose. But not your way, or Mom's way, or anyone else's way. My way. I had 20 minutes until service. No sauce, no investors, no support except for my sister's camera and my own shaking hands. Everything I'd planned was in ruins, but maybe that was the point. Maybe I needed to lose everything I thought. I wanted to find what I actually needed. Last call for plating, someone announced. I looked at my creation. Simple, honest, born from desperation and defiance. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't even what I'd planned, but it was authentically mine. Ready? Tessa asked, her camera focused on my hands. I nodded, picking up the first plate. Through the service window, I could see the remaining investors waiting, my mother among them. This was it, my last chance to prove that sometimes the worst moments can lead to the best creations. Time to serve, I said, pushing through the door. And I hope they're hungry for the truth. The silence in the dining room was deafening as I presented my improvised dish. Through Tessa's camera lens, I watched the investors lean forward, their expressions shifting from skepticism to curiosity. My mother's face remained carefully blank, but her hands betrayed her nervousness, twisting her napkin beneath the table. "This isn't what was advertised," one investor said, studying the plate. "No," I agreed. "It's better." This is what happens when someone tries to sabotage your carefully planned menu. You either give up, or you create something new. I locked eyes with Amelia, who had emerged from the kitchen. "Would you like to explain why my original sauce disappeared? Or should we ask my mother about the convenient timing of the health inspector's visit?" "Lila," my mother warned, but I wasn't finished. "You know what's funny? I spent years trying to recreate your recipes, Mom. Trying to earn your approval. But tonight, when everything was taken away, I finally understood something. The best dishes come from hunger. Real hunger, not just for food, but for recognition. For acceptance." The investors were sampling the dish now, their murmurs of appreciation growing louder. Tessa moved around the table, capturing their reactions, the way they gestured to each other with raised eyebrows and nodding heads. "This is unexpected," the lead investor said. "The fusion of traditional and modern techniques, the balance of flavors. It tells a story." "That's because it's my story," I said. "Not the one they wanted me to tell, but the real one. About making something from nothing. About turning rejection into fuel." Amelia stepped forward, her composure cracking. "You think you're so special? Some scrappy underdog who—" "No," I cut her off. "I think I'm exactly what you're afraid of, someone who doesn't need your approval anymore. Any of you." My father chose that moment to walk in, stopping short at the scene before him. I hadn't seen him since Christmas morning, and his presence sent a jolt through the room. "What's going on here?" he demanded. "Your daughter," the lead investor said, "is about to receive an offer of backing for her restaurant concept. That is, if she's interested." The look on my father's face shifted from confusion to something else, something I'd never seen before. Recognition, maybe. Or regret. "The lottery ticket," he said quietly. "That's how you did all this, isn't it? The one you gave us for Christmas." "The one you never bothered to open," I corrected. "Yes." My mother stood up abruptly. "You had no right." "To what, Mom? To want something different than what you planned? To succeed without your permission?" I gestured to Tessa, still filming. "Ask your golden child how she feels about medical school. Ask her what she really wants to do with her life." The room fell silent again as all eyes turned to Tessa. She lowered her camera, her hands steady even as her voice shook. "I want to be a photographer," she announced. "And Lila's going to hire me to shoot for her restaurant's marketing." "You're hiring no one," Amelia snapped. "This was a publicity stunt. These investors are very impressed," the lead investor interrupted. "Both with the food and with how you handle unexpected challenges, Miss Hawkins." My father stepped forward, reaching into his jacket. He pulled out a wrinkled scratch-off ticket, the one I'd given him for Christmas. It was still unscratched. "I kept it," he said. "Don't know why. Maybe because it was the last thing you gave us before." He cleared his throat. "I'd like to scratch it now, if that's okay. And whatever it's worth, I want to invest it in your restaurant." "Roger," my mother protested, but he held up his hand. "No, Evelyn. We've done enough damage trying to control their lives. Look at what Lila created tonight, when everything was stacked against her. Look at Tessa's photography. These aren't the failures we feared. These are artists." The investor smiled, sliding a business card across the table. "I believe we have some details to discuss, Miss Hawkins. All of us." I picked up the card, then looked at my father's unscratched ticket.
"Keep it," I said.
"Some gifts are worth more unopened." Amelia stormed out, but I barely noticed. I was too busy watching my father's face as he finally saw me, not as a disappointment, but as a chef, as myself. "So," I said, turning to the investors, "let's talk about opening night." 6 months after the pop-up event, I stood in my own kitchen, watching the dinner service unfold through the pass. The restaurant was packed, as it had been every night since opening. Tessa's photographs lined the walls, artistic shots of our signature dishes alongside candid moments of our family's journey. The door swung open and Marco walked in, carrying a familiar envelope. "Special delivery," he said, handing it to me. "Found this at my restaurant." The return address was Amelia's. Inside was a single page. "I closed my restaurant last week. Turns out success isn't worth much when you build it on other people's recipes. You were right, the hunger has to be your own." I folded the letter, thinking about how revenge had stopped tasting sweet somewhere along the way. "Have you seen today's special?" I asked Marco, nodding toward a dish waiting at the pass. He smiled, recognizing my mother's signature recipe, reimagined, but with its heart intact. "How did she take it?" "She cried," I admitted, then spent an hour telling me everything I'd done wrong while secretly eating every bite. Through the kitchen window, I could see my family at their regular table. My father was showing Tessa something on her camera, probably discussing her upcoming gallery show. My mother sat straight-backed as always, but her eyes kept drifting to the kitchen with something that looked almost like pride. "Chef," one of my line cooks called out, "we have a situation." I turned to find a familiar face at the kitchen door, Amelia, looking smaller somehow, less certain. "I'm not here to cause trouble," she said quickly. I wanted to know if you're still hiring prep cooks." The kitchen fell silent, everyone watching for my reaction. 6 months ago, I would have savored this moment of defeat. Now, looking at her, I saw something of myself, that same hunger, just pointed in the wrong direction for too long. "Tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., I said. "Don't be late." "And Amelia?" "Bring your own recipes this time." She nodded, a flash of relief crossing her face before she hurried out. Marco squeezed my shoulder. "You're not the same chef who burned with revenge in my kitchen." "No," I agreed. "I'm better." Speaking of which, I pulled out the lottery ticket my father had kept unscratched all these months. He'd given it back to me last week, saying some gifts needed to come full circle. "Want to do the honors?" I offered it to Marco. He shook his head. "Some things are worth more unscratched. The mystery of what could have been sometimes teaches us more than knowing." The dinner rush was picking up, tickets streaming in. I tucked the ticket into my chef's coat, where it settled next to my heart like a reminder of how far I'd come. "Lila," Tessa called from the dining room. "Mom's critiquing your plating again." I laughed, reaching for my knife. "Tell her if she wants to reorganize my garnishes, she'll have to put on an apron and do it herself." To my surprise, moments later, my mother appeared in the kitchen doorway, already rolling up her sleeves. "Well," she said, "are you going to show me how this new version of my recipe works, or not?" I handed her an apron, watching as she tied it with practiced movements that mirrored my own. Some wounds heal slowly, I realized, but they do heal, especially when seasoned with time and truth and just a pinch of forgiveness. "Okay, Mom," I said, making space in my station. "Let me show you how hunger makes everything taste better." The kitchen hummed around us, a symphony of sizzling pans and clicking plates and calling tickets. My restaurant, my rules, my family, both the one I was born into and the one I'd built. Not perfect, but perfectly mine. And somewhere in my chef's coat, an unscratched ticket reminded me that sometimes the best revenge isn't serving a cold dish, it's inviting your enemies to a warm table and teaching them how to cook for themselves.
The new sports car gleamed like fresh blood in my parents' driveway. I gripped my steering wheel, knuckles white, as Sydney twirled in circles around it, squealing like she'd just won the lottery. Maybe she had, with my money. My name is Sophie, and I just watched my sister steal my future. "Isn't she gorgeous?" Sydney ran her manicured fingers along the hood. "I got such a good deal. The salesman practically gave it away." I stepped out of my sensible Honda, still in my work clothes, from a 12-hour day at the financial firm. My phone buzzed again. Probably another overdraft alert from my savings account. I'd been ignoring them for the past hour, praying it was all a mistake. "Sydney." My voice came out steadier than I felt. Where did you get the money for this? She tossed her perfectly styled hair, identical to our mother's. Oh, don't start with the lecture. Mum and Dad helped me figure it out. Right, guys? Our parents stood in the background, champagne glasses in hand. Mum gave me that familiar pleading look, the one that always meant, don't rock the boat. Your sister needed reliable transportation, honey, Mum said, stepping forward. We just accessed that emergency account you set up for the family. The world tilted sideways. That wasn't an emergency account. That was my house down payment. $50,000. My entire savings. Don't be dramatic. Sydney rolled her eyes. You can save it up again. You're good with money. It's like your whole thing. Besides, you're always saying family comes first. Family comes first? I pulled out my phone, showing her the balance. You drained my account down to $127,943, without asking me, without even telling me. Dad cleared his throat. Now, Sophie, your sister has interviews coming up. She needs to make the right impression. Interviews? I laughed, the sound harsh and foreign. For what? The 3 jobs she's quit this year? Or the degree she never finished? That's not fair. Sydney's face crumpled into tears, right on cue. Mum, she's being mean. Sophie, please. Mum rushed to comfort Sydney. You know your sister's been struggling. We need to support her right now. You've always been the strong one. The strong one. The responsible one. The one they could count on to clean up their messes, cover their bills, keep their secrets. I'd been doing it since I was 12, watching Mom sleep off her headaches while I got Sydney ready for school. You're right, I said quietly, pulling out my phone. I am the strong one. See? Mom brightened. I knew you'd understand. I'm also the one whose name is on all the family financial accounts. I dialed the bank's number, the one who's been covering Dad's credit card payments since his early retirement, the one whose savings account was collateral for your emergency line of credit. Dad's champagne glass froze halfway to his lips. What are you doing? Yes, hello. I spoke clearly into the phone. This is Sophie Price. I need to close account number 847392, effective immediately. Yes, I understand this will affect linked accounts. That's exactly what I want. Sophie, stop. Mum lunged for my phone, but I stepped back. You can't do this. Actually, I can. It's my money. I met Sydney's wide eyes. Enjoy the car, sis. Hope it was worth it. You're just jealous, Sydney shouted after me as I walked to my car. Jealous that Mum and Dad love me more, that I'm living my life while you're just boring. I paused, hand on my car door. You know what's interesting about karma, Sydney? It's not always patient. Sometimes it shows up the second you deserve it. What's that supposed to mean? She demanded. I smiled, sliding into my driver's seat. You'll find out in about, 72 hours when those credit cards stop working, give or take. The last thing I saw in my rearview mirror was Dad frantically dialing his phone while Mom hugged a sobbing Sydney. They looked exactly like the family portrait on their wall. Perfect composition, Mom and Dad flanking their favourite daughter. The portrait I'd paid for last Christmas, like I'd paid for everything else. But not anymore. I pulled over 2 blocks away, hands shaking as I dialed another number. Bryce? It's me. Remember when you said I should stop enabling them? Well, I just did something extreme. Finally, he answered. Want to grab a drink and tell me all about it? I glanced back toward my parents' house, where Sydney's new car still gleamed in the fading sunlight. Yes, and Bryce. Bring your laptop. We're going to need it. The sun set behind me as I drove away, leaving the golden child and her kingdom of cards behind. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but I was just getting warmed up. 3 days, Bryce said, sliding his laptop across the bar. That's how long it'll take for the bank's system to fully process the account closure and trigger the domino effect. I stared into my gin and tonic, ice cubes clinking as I swirled the glass. They've called 17 times since yesterday. I stopped counting the texts. Let me see. Bryce scrolled through my phone. Sophie, please call us immediately. This is an emergency. Your sister is crying herself sick. Oh, this is rich. We raised you better than this. Did they, though? I took another sip. You know what I remember from growing up? Making Sydney's lunch while Mom was resting. Helping Dad balance checkbooks at 13 because he couldn't figure out why they were always overdrawn. Being told I couldn't go to my first choice college because Sydney needed braces. And now they took your house down payment. Bryce's fingers flew across the keyboard. Look at this. They've been siphoning money from your linked accounts for years. Small amounts, but it adds up. 20 here, 50 there. The bar's dim lighting couldn't hide the growing list of transactions. They thought I wouldn't notice, because I never did before. My phone buzzed again. Mom's face filled the screen. You should answer it, Bryce said. They need to understand this isn't a game anymore. I took a deep breath and picked up. Hello? Sophie! Mum's voice cracked with panic. The bank called. They're saying something about defaulted credit lines and frozen accounts. What did you do? Exactly what I said I would. I closed my accounts. But your father's cards aren't working. We have bills due. Sydney needs, I cut her off. What about what I need, Mom? Like the house I've been saving for since I was 23. That's different. We're family. Family doesn't steal from each other. We didn't steal. Mum's voice rose. We borrowed. You know we're good for it. I laughed. Are you? Really? Because according to Dad's credit report, yes, I can see it. I'm still listed as an authorized user. You're maxed out on 6 cards. Cards I've been making minimum payments on for 2 years. Silence crackled over the line. Sophie! Mom's voice dropped to a whisper. Please, just come over. We can talk about this. Sure. I finished my drink. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Bryce raised an eyebrow as I hung up. You're really going? They need to see my face when their world crashes down. I grabbed my purse. Want to drive? 20 minutes later, I walked into my parents' living room. Sydney's mascara-streaked face glared at me from the couch. Dad paced by the window, phone pressed to his ear. The bank won't budge, he announced, hanging up. They're calling in all the credit lines by Friday. Something about... what was it? Unlinked collateral. That would be my savings account. I sat in the armchair, crossing my legs. The one Sydney emptied for her midlife crisis car. This isn't funny, Sydney shrieked. They're saying I might lose the car. Do you know how embarrassing that would be? Almost as embarrassing as having to tell my realtor I lost my down payment. I kept my voice level. Or maybe as embarrassing as finding out my family's been treating me like their personal ATM for years. We never meant to hurt you, Mum started crying. Things have been tight since your father retired, at 55, with no savings, after I told him it was a terrible idea. Dad's face reddened. Now listen here, young lady. No, you listen. I stood up. For years, I've covered your mistakes, paid your bills, kept your secrets. And how do you repay me? By helping Sydney steal the one thing I was saving for myself. But you're so good with money, Sydney wailed. You can just save it up again. You're right. I am good with money. I walked to the door, which is why I'm cutting you all off. For good. You can't do this to us! Mom grabbed my arm. We're your parents! I gently removed her hand. Parents protect their children. They don't use them as financial cushions. They don't steal their dreams to fund another child's impulse purchases. Sophie, please! Dad's voice cracked. Check your mail tomorrow, I said, opening the door. The bank's sending formal notices about the default. Oh, and Sydney? Better park that car in the garage. Repo men work at night. The door closed behind me with a soft click. In the driveway, Bryce waited in his car, engine running. "You okay?" he asked as I buckled in. I watched my mother's silhouette appear in the window, phone already pressed to her ear, probably calling her sister to borrow money. "No," I answered honestly. "But I will be. For the first time in my life, I will be." "They're outside again," Bryce said, peering through my apartment blinds. "Your mom's crying in the car while Sydney's buzzing every unit in the building." I didn't look up from my laptop. "They've been doing this for 3 days. The neighbors are starting to complain." My phone lit up with another text from Sydney. "You're destroying this family." "Actually," a new voice called from my kitchen, "they're destroying themselves quite nicely without your help." Eliza, my best friend and realtor, emerged with 3 cups of coffee. "The repo men picked up Sydney's car this morning. I may have recorded it for posterity." "Show me," I said, reaching for her phone. The video showed Sydney screaming at 2 impassive men as they hooked up her red sports car to a tow truck. Mum tried to block them with her body, while Dad waved papers in their faces. "Those papers," I pointed, "are probably the loan documents they forged my signature on. Found that out yesterday." "Identity theft?" Eliza whistled. "That's not just karma anymore, that's criminal." The buzzer rang again. Sydney's voice crackled through the intercom. "I know you're in there. You can't ignore us forever." "Watch me," I muttered, but Eliza was already striding to the intercom. "Listen up, you entitled little brat," she snapped into the speaker. "Your sister's not available to bail you out anymore. Try getting a job instead of a lawyer. You'll need both." Bryce choked on his coffee. "Damn, Eliza." "Someone had to say it." She turned to me. "Speaking of lawyers, did you file those identity theft charges?" "Tomorrow morning." I pulled up the documents on my screen. Along with proof they used my information to secure loans I never approved. The buzzer started again, this time continuously. Mum's voice joined Sydney's, both talking over each other in desperate pleas. "That's it." Eliza grabbed her purse. "I'm calling the police. This is harassment." "Wait," I said, standing up. "I'll handle it." I took the elevator down, my heart pounding but my steps steady. The lobby doors opened to reveal Sydney's mascara-streaked face pressed against the glass, Mum hovering behind her. "Finally!" Sydney shoved through the door as I opened it. "Do you know what you've done? The bank froze everything. They're saying Dad might face fraud charges." "That's what happens when you forge loan documents," I replied calmly. "We didn't forge anything!" Mom protested. "We just used your information as a guarantor. You've always helped before." "Always helped?" Something snapped inside me. "You mean like when I was 14, getting up at 5 a.m. to tutor Sydney before school because you couldn't be bothered? Or when I worked 2 jobs in college while Sydney dropped out of 3 universities on my dime?" "That's not fair." Sydney stepped closer. "You're just jealous because..." "Because what?" I cut her off. "Because Mum and Dad love you more. They can keep their love. I'm done paying for it." "Please," Mom grabbed my hand. "We can fix this. Just talk to the bank. Tell them it was a misunderstanding." I pulled my hand away. "Like when I was 10 and you borrowed my birthday money from Grandma for Sydney's dance lessons? Or last Christmas when Dad borrowed my credit card for her spring break trip? Those were different times." "No." My voice was ice. "Those were practice runs. You've been testing my boundaries my whole life, seeing how much you could take before I broke. Guess what? You finally did it." Sydney's face crumpled. "But you're my sister. You're supposed to protect me." "I did protect you. For 29 years, I protected you from consequences. Not anymore." A police car pulled up to the curb, Eliza stepping out of her car behind it. "Miss?" The officer approached. "We received a complaint about harassment." "That's them," Eliza pointed. "They've been harassing my friend for days." Mom's face went pale. Sophie, you wouldn't. I would. I stepped back into my building. And if you come here again, I'll add it to the identity theft charges I'm filing tomorrow. Identity theft? The officer's expression hardened. Ma'am, I'm going to need you both to step away from the building. I watched through the lobby windows as the officer escorted them to their car. Sydney looked back once, her expression a mix of fury and fear. Mum didn't look back at all. Upstairs, Bryce and Eliza waited with fresh coffee and concerned faces. They're gone, I said, dropping onto my couch. Probably not for good, but long enough. Eliza sat beside me. You know what the best revenge is? Living well? No, she grinned. Getting that dream house you've been saving for, only bigger and better. And guess what? I just found one in your price range, now that you're not supporting 4 people. For the first time in days, I smiled. Show me. You're not going to believe this, Bryce said, his laptop casting a blue glow across my kitchen table. I found something while tracking those old joint accounts. It was midnight, and we'd been digging through financial records for hours. Empty takeout containers littered the table, evidence of our impromptu investigation session. Show me. I leaned over his shoulder. See these transfers? He pointed to a series of transactions. Every month for the past 3 years, money's been moving from your savings to an account I don't recognize. Small amounts, but consistent. I squinted at the screen. That's not possible. I monitor everything. They did it through that old joint account you opened with your mom in college, the one you forgot about. His fingers flew across the keyboard. They've been using it as a pipeline. My phone buzzed. Another text from Sydney. Dad's having chest pains because of you. Hope you're happy. Ignore her, Bryce said, not looking up. Wait. Holy shit. Sophie, look at this. The screen showed a web of transactions, spreading like a corrupt family tree. Money flowing from my accounts through various channels, always ending up in Sydney's pocket or my parents' credit card payments. $300,000, Bryce whispered. That's how much they've siphoned over the years. The room spun. I grabbed the counter for support. That's impossible. The numbers don't lie. He pulled up more documents. And there's something else. Your name's on Sydney's car loan as a co-signer. Did you sign anything? Never. Then we've got them. He reached for his phone. This is straight up fraud. A knock at my door made us both jump. I checked the peephole. It was Eliza, holding a manila envelope. You need to see this, she said, bursting in. I was checking property records for that house we looked at, and guess what popped up? Your parents listed you as a guarantor on their condo refinance last week. What? I snatched the papers. There was my signature, forged again. They're desperate, Bryce said. The banks are closing in, and they're using your name to try to stay afloat. My phone rang. My boss, Garrett. At midnight, Sophie. His voice was grave when I answered. I'm sorry to call so late, but there's something you should know. Your sister just applied for a job here. She listed you as a reference and there are some discrepancies in her application. What kind of discrepancies? She claims she has a finance degree and 3 years of experience. Says you can verify it. I laughed, the sound hollow. She dropped out after 1 semester. I thought so. Papers rustled on his end. Sophie, given your position at the firm, if she's attempting fraud, I understand. I straightened my spine. Garrett, I need to tell you something about my family. 20 minutes later, I hung up. Bryce and Eliza watched me expectantly. Well, Eliza prompted. Garrett's reporting the fraudulent application. I sank into a chair. And he's giving me tomorrow off to file police reports. Good. Bryce turned his laptop around. Because there's more. Remember that private school Sydney went to senior year? The one that mysteriously waived her tuition? I nodded. They didn't waive it. Your parents used your information as a guarantor. You've been paying it off through automatic withdrawals for 6 years. Fresh rage coursed through me. That's why they insisted I keep that joint account open. They said it was for emergencies. The emergency was their lifestyle, Eliza snorted, and Sydney's inability to function as an adult. My phone buzzed again. A family group text from Mum. Your father's in the ER. His blood pressure's through the roof. Please, Sophie, if you ever loved us. Don't answer. Eliza grabbed my phone. They're trying to manipulate you. Again. I know. I stood up, pacing. But what if he's really sick? Then that's on them, Bryce said firmly. They made their choices, for years. Another text popped up, this time from Sydney. If anything happens to Dad, it's your fault. I'll never forgive you. I took my phone back from Eliza, typing quickly. If anything happens to Dad, it's because of choices you all made. Choices that are about to have very real consequences. What are you going to do? Eliza asked softly. I looked at the stack of evidence on my table. Forged signatures, fraudulent loans, years of financial abuse documented in black and white. I'm going to do what I should have done years ago. I picked up my phone again. I'm calling the police, and then I'm calling every bank they've defrauded using my name. They're your family, Bryce said quietly. No, I replied, dialing the number. They're criminals who happen to share my DNA, and it's time they learned that karma has a badge. The police station's fluorescent lights made everything look harsh and washed out. Detective Rivera spread the documents across her desk, eyebrows rising as she flipped through each page. This is extensive, she said, looking up at me. And you're saying this has been going on for years? I didn't realize how long until yesterday. I handed her another folder. These are the forged loan documents, my signature's on all of them, but I never signed anything. And your parents and sister did this? Yes. My voice didn't shake anymore when I said it. They used my information to secure loans, open credit lines, even co-sign a car. The detective made notes, her face grim. This is serious fraud, miss. Once we file these charges, there's no going back. Are you sure you want to proceed? My phone buzzed. Another text from Sydney. Dad's being released from the hospital. No thanks to you. Mum's crying herself sick. How can you be so heartless? I turned my phone around to show the detective. This is why I'm sure. They're still trying to manipulate me, even now. I see this more often than you'd think, she said kindly. Family financial abuse is... The door burst open. Garrett, my boss, strode in with a thick manila envelope. Sorry I'm late, he said, taking a seat. But I brought something you need to see. Sydney's fraudulent job application was just the tip of the iceberg. He spread more documents across the detective's desk. Employment verifications, academic records, loan applications, all with my forged signature as a reference or guarantor. She's been using your name to apply for jobs across the city, Garrett explained, claiming you'd verify her fake credentials. Some companies have already started investigating. Detective Rivera's pen moved faster. This changes things. We're looking at multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and financial abuse. My phone rang. Mom again. The detective nodded for me to answer and put it on speaker. Sophie, please, Mom's voice crackled through. The bank is threatening to press charges against your father. They're saying something about loan fraud. You have to help us. I can't, Mom. Not anymore. But we're family, after everything we've done for you. Everything you've done for me? I laughed. You mean stealing my identity? Forging my signature? Draining my accounts? We never meant to hurt you. We just needed help. And you're so good with money. Mrs. Price, Detective Rivera cut in. "This is Detective Rivera with the Financial Crimes Unit. I advise you to stop talking and contact a lawyer immediately." The line went dead. "That should give them something to think about," the detective said, gathering the documents. "We'll start processing these right away. Given the evidence, we should have arrest warrants by morning." "Arrest warrants?" My stomach lurched. "They'll actually be arrested." "This is felony fraud," Garrett said gently. "What did you think would happen?" Before I could answer, my phone exploded with texts from Sydney. "What did you do?" "The police are calling Mom and Dad." "I can't believe you'd betray us like this." "You're dead to me." The last message was a photo of us as kids, me helping Sydney with her homework, both of us smiling. The caption read, "Remember when you were actually a good sister?" "That's their specialty," I told Detective Rivera, showing her the messages. "Emotional manipulation. They take and take, then make you feel guilty for noticing." "Classic abuse pattern," she nodded. "Would you like to press charges for the harassment as well?" "Yes," I said, surprising myself with my firmness. "Yes, I would." Garrett squeezed my shoulder. "You're doing the right thing. They need to face consequences." "I know." I stood up, gathering my things. "I just wish it didn't hurt so much." "One more thing," Detective Rivera called as I reached the door. "We'll need you to document any further contact from them. Texts, calls, emails, everything." "They won't stop trying to contact me, will they?" "Not until they're forced to." She handed me her card. "But that's what restraining orders are for." Outside the police station, the morning sun was rising. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Dad. "The police are here. How could you do this to your own parents?" I typed back. "The same way you did it to your own daughter. One signature at a time." Then I blocked their numbers, all of them. Garrett waited by his car to drive me to work. "Ready?" he asked. I looked back at the police station, where Detective Rivera was probably already processing the arrest warrants. Soon, my family would learn that karma doesn't just knock. Sometimes it comes with a badge and handcuffs. "Yeah," I said, getting into the car. "I'm ready." "They were arrested this morning," Eliza announced, dropping a local newspaper on my desk. The headline read, "Local family charged in identity theft scheme." I pushed the paper away. "I don't want to see it." "You need to see it." She flipped to the article. "They're trying to spin it to the media. Your mom gave an interview claiming you're mentally unstable and misunderstanding family obligations." "Classic narcissist move," Bryce said from my office doorway. "When caught, discredit the victim." My office phone lit up. Another call from an unknown number. They'd been finding ways around my blocks all week. "Watch this," I said, putting it on speaker. "Hello, Sophie?" It was my Aunt Linda. "How could you do this to your own parents? They're devastated. Sydney's reputation is ruined." "Their reputation?" I kept my voice steady. "You mean their reputation for stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from me? For forging my signature? For committing felony fraud?" "They're family. Family helps each other." "Really?" I shuffled through papers on my desk. "Because I have proof here that they used your identity too. Want me to tell you how much debt they put in your name?" The line went dead. "Boom," Eliza grinned. That shut her up. My email pinged. A message from Detective Rivera. "Thought you should see this. They're trying to negotiate a plea deal." Attached was a screenshot of Sydney's latest social media post. "My sister destroyed our family because she's jealous of my success. Now she's trying to send our parents to jail. Please share our GoFundMe for legal expenses." "Oh, hell no." Eliza grabbed her phone. "I'm reporting that fundraiser for fraud." "Don't bother," Bryce said, typing on his laptop. "I already did. And I may have sent screenshots to the prosecutor showing them trying to raise money while claiming poverty to the court. My desk phone rang again. This time it was Garrett. "Sophie, come to my office. There's something you need to see." In his office, Garrett had more papers spread across his desk. "Your sister's been busy. She tried to open credit cards at 6 different banks using your work information as verification. When that failed, she tried using the firm's name." "She what?" "It gets better." He handed me a letter. "She applied for a job at our biggest competitor, claiming she was a junior analyst here. Used your name as a reference again." "I'll add it to the fraud charges," I said, reaching for my phone. "Already did." He leaned back. "But that's not why I called you in. The board was impressed with how you handled this situation. They're offering you a promotion, senior risk analyst." I blinked. "What?" "You spotted financial fraud in your own family and had the courage to report it. That's exactly the kind of integrity we need in risk management." Back in my office, Eliza and Bryce waited expectantly. "Well?" Eliza demanded. "I got promoted." "Yes!" She hugged me. "See? Karma works both ways." My phone buzzed, an email from my parents' lawyer. "Your parents are willing to take a plea deal, but they want you to write a letter to the judge asking for leniency." "Delete it," Bryce advised. "No." I started typing. "I'm writing back. Dear Mr. Harrison, my parents and sister committed systematic financial fraud over several years, stealing my identity and hundreds of thousands of dollars. They showed no remorse until court. They continue to harass me and attempt to manipulate public opinion. I will not be writing a letter of leniency. Instead, I will be submitting a victim impact statement detailing every forged signature, every stolen dollar, and every attempt to destroy my reputation when I finally stood up for myself. They wanted to play games with the legal system? Game on. Regards, Sophie." "Savage," Eliza whispered, reading over my shoulder. "No." I hit send. "Just honest. Finally." My phone lit up with a text from Detective Rivera. "Your parents' house just went into foreclosure. They're being evicted next week." I stared at the message, remembering Sunday dinners in that house, holidays, birthdays. All fake. All built on stolen money and lies. "You okay?" Bryce asked softly. "I will be." I looked out my office window, where the city stretched out below. Somewhere out there, my family was facing real consequences for the first time in their lives. You know what's funny? They always said I was the responsible one, the boring one, the one who needed to help everyone else shine. And now? Now I'm the one with the promotion, the clean credit score, and the clear conscience. I turned back to my desk. They can keep their drama. I've got work to do. Speaking of work, Eliza pulled out her tablet. "Ready to look at more houses? There's a beautiful one just listed. Perfect for a newly promoted senior risk analyst." I smiled. "Show me." The courtroom felt smaller than I expected. My parents sat at the defendant's table, looking diminished in their court-appropriate clothing. Sydney slouched in the gallery behind them, shooting me venomous glares. "All rise," the bailiff called. Detective Rivera squeezed my hand as I stood. "You ready?" I nodded, gripping my victim impact statement. 3 pages that had taken weeks to write, each word weighted with years of suppressed truth. "The state versus April and Philip," the judge began, but was interrupted by commotion at the courtroom door. My parents' lawyer rushed in, whispering urgently to them. Mum's face crumpled. Dad's shoulders slumped. "Your Honor," their lawyer addressed the court. "My clients wish to change their plea to guilty on all counts." Sydney's gasp echoed through the courtroom. "Mum! Dad! No!" The judge peered over his glasses. "You understand this means no trial? No chance to present your defense?" "We understand," Dad said, his voice barely audible. Very well. The judge shuffled papers. Before sentencing, we'll hear the victim impact statement. Miss Price? I walked to the podium, my heels clicking on the marble floor. The statement trembled in my hands. Your Honor, I began. I've spent weeks trying to calculate the exact financial damage my family caused. The stolen money, the forged loans, the fraudulent accounts. But the real cost? That's harder to quantify. Mom started crying. I kept going. How do you measure the cost of betrayal? Of discovering that every time your parents said, I love you, they were really saying, I love what I can take from you? That's not true. Sydney stood up. We're family. Miss, the judge warned. Sit down or be removed. I turned to face my family directly. You taught me that family means sacrificing everything for each other. But that was a lie. What you really taught me was that family means having convenient victims who won't press charges. Sophie, please. Mom reached out. We can still fix this. No, Mom, we can't. Because you're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught. The judge cleared his throat. Given the defendant's guilty plea and the extent of their crimes, I'm prepared to deliver sentencing. Wait! Dad stood up. Your Honor, please. We did it for our daughter. Which one? I asked quietly. The one you stole from, or the one you stole for? The judge's gavel cracked like thunder. Mr. Price, sit down. Based on the severity and duration of these crimes, I sentence you both to 5 years in state prison, with possibility of parole after 3 years. Additionally, you'll pay full restitution to the victim. Sydney burst into tears. This is all your fault, she screamed at me. I hate you. Miss Price, the judge addressed Sydney. Your separate trial for fraud and identity theft begins next week. I suggest you save your outbursts for then. Outside the courtroom, reporters clustered with cameras and microphones. Eliza and Bryce flanked me like bodyguards. Miss Price, how does it feel sending your parents to prison? I didn't send them anywhere, I said clearly. Their choices did. Sophie, Mom called, as officers led them past. We did everything for you kids. No, Mom, you did everything to us. There's a difference. Dad wouldn't meet my eyes. Sydney tried to rush at me but was held back by their lawyer. You're dead to me, she shrieked. Dead! Funny, I replied. I've never felt more alive. Detective Rivera appeared with a protective detail. Let's get you out of here. Your sister's getting unstable. In the parking lot, Bryce opened his car door for me. Want to get a drink? Actually, I pulled out my phone, showing him an email. I have a house closing to get to. Now? Eliza perked up. The one we looked at last week? That's the one. I smiled. Turns out karma has good timing. My parents lose their house the same day I buy mine. Sophie? Sydney's voice rang across the parking lot. She'd broken away from the lawyer. You can't do this. Where are Mom and Dad supposed to live when they get out? Not my problem, I called back. Try getting a job instead of a handout. I heard Walmart's hiring. As we drove away, I watched in the rearview mirror as officers led my parents to the prison transport van. Sydney stood alone on the courthouse steps, mascara running, screaming into her phone. You okay? Bryce asked softly. I thought about the house waiting for me, about my promotion, about the weight lifting from my shoulders with each mile we drove. You know what? I said. For the first time in my life, I actually am. Good. He smiled. Because we've got a closing to get to. Ready to start your new life? I looked ahead at the road stretching before us, clear and bright. More than ready. Let's go home. Last box, Bryce announced, setting it down in my new kitchen. Sunlight streamed through the bay windows, catching the granite countertops I'd fallen in love with during the viewing. I still can't believe this is mine. I ran my hand along the smooth surface. All mine. Better believe it. Eliza burst through the door with champagne. Because this calls for a celebration. First night in your new house. My phone buzzed. A news alert. Sydney's sentencing had finished. I clicked the link. Local woman gets 3 years for identity theft. Sydney Price, 24, was sentenced today for multiple counts of fraud. Don't. Eliza grabbed my phone. This is your moment. No family drama allowed. The doorbell rang. Detective Rivera stood on my porch, holding a folder. Sorry to interrupt your moving day, she said, stepping inside. But I thought you'd want to see this. Your parents tried to file an appeal. It was denied. Of course they did. I accepted the folder. Let me guess. They claimed they were just trying to help their children? Actually, they tried to blame you. Said you gave them permission for everything. She smiled. The judge wasn't impressed. Speaking of not impressed, Bryce called from my laptop. You might want to see this. He pulled up a social media post from one of my cousins. Family isn't family anymore. Sophie put her parents in jail, and now she's buying a fancy house with blood money. Karma will get her. Blood money? I laughed. You mean my own savings they didn't manage to steal? Want me to respond? Eliza cracked her knuckles over the keyboard. No need. I started unpacking a box. They can keep their social media circus. I've got better things to do. Like planning your housewarming party? Eliza pulled out a design magazine. Because this place has serious entertainment potential. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Garrett. Hope I'm not interrupting, he said, holding up a bottle of wine. But I brought a housewarming gift, and news. Good news or bad news? Depends. He grinned. How do you feel about speaking at next month's financial security conference? The board thinks your story could help others identify family fraud. I thought about all the people out there, trapped in webs of financial abuse, too scared or guilty to break free. I'll do it, I said. Someone needs to show them there's a way out. Perfect. He handed me an envelope. Here's your new contract, complete with that raise we discussed. My phone buzzed again. An unknown number, but I recognized the prison's area code. Sophie? Mum's voice was thin. Please don't hang up. I need you to know I'm sorry. Are you sorry for what you did, or sorry you got caught? Silence. That's what I thought. I kept my voice steady. Goodbye, Mum. Wait, your father and I, we'll have nowhere to go when we get out. Sydney's obviously not in a position to help. You're right. She's not. Because you taught her that taking is easier than earning. I looked around my new kitchen, at my friends unpacking boxes and opening wine. But you taught me something too. You taught me exactly who not to be. I hung up before she could respond. You okay? Bryce asked softly. Better than okay. I grabbed wine glasses from a box. I'm free. To freedom! Eliza raised her glass. And to karma finally doing its job. Detective Rivera checked her phone. Speaking of karma, Sydney's being transferred to state prison tomorrow. Want me to keep you updated? No, I said firmly. I don't need to know what happens to them anymore. Their story isn't my story. Then what is your story? Bryce asked, helping me unpack dishes. I looked around my new kitchen, at the sunlight painting warm patterns on walls that were truly mine. At friends who supported me through everything. At a career that rewarded integrity instead of manipulation. My story? I smiled. My story is just beginning, and this time I'm writing it myself. Well then, Eliza raised her glass again, to new beginnings, and to Sophie, the woman who proved that sometimes the best revenge is living well. And paying attention to your bank statements, Detective Rivera added with a wink. We laughed, the sound echoing through my new home. My real home, built on truth instead of lies, strength instead of manipulation, independence instead of guilt. Outside, a moving truck drove past, carrying my parents' repossessed furniture to auction. But I didn't watch it go. I was too busy planning where to hang my art, choosing paint colors, making this space mine. They say home is where the heart is. But sometimes, home is where you finally set your heart free. So, Eliza pulled out her tablet. About that housewarming party? I grinned. Show me what you're thinking. This time, every decision would be mine. Every choice would be clear, every dollar would be earned, and it felt absolutely perfect.
I always knew my sister would try to destroy my dreams. I just didn't expect her to be so obvious about it. Maybe it's a sign? Bridget's smirk made my blood run cold as I tore through my bedroom for the third time. My passport had to be here somewhere. I'd placed it in my travel folder just yesterday, triple-checked it before bed. Now, less than 48 hours before my flight to Rome, it had vanished. I'm Olive, and I've spent 19 years being the family disappointment. Not because I've done anything wrong, quite the opposite. I study too hard, dream too big, and worst of all, I refuse to accept that my younger sister is the sun our family orbits around. "Mom!" I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. "Have you seen my passport?" "Honey, you probably misplaced it." Mom's voice drifted up from downstairs, dripping with that familiar condescension. "You know how scattered you get when you're stressed." I caught Bridget's reflection in my mirror as she leaned against my doorframe, twirling a strand of her perfect blonde hair. "You know, Olive, maybe this is God's way of telling you to stay home. You're not exactly international material." The scholarship letter on my desk begged to differ. Full ride, prestigious global policy program, selected from thousands of applicants. I'd kept it secret until the last possible moment, knowing what would happen when I told them. "I got into the program fair and square," I said, my hands shaking as I checked my drawer again. "Why can't you just be happy for me?" "Oh, I'm always happy for you," Bridget cooed, stepping into my room uninvited. "I just worry. Remember your science fair project? How it mysteriously caught fire the night before? Or your prom dress that somehow got bleach on it? You're just so unlucky." My jaw clenched. Those weren't accidents, and we both knew it. Just like my missing passport wasn't an accident. "Olive!" Dad's voice boomed from downstairs. "Family meeting. Now." I followed Bridget down to our pristine living room, where Mom and Dad sat like judges ready to deliver a verdict. Mom's cross necklace caught the light as she patted the space beside her. "Sweetheart, we need to talk about this scholarship situation." "There's nothing to talk about," I said, remaining standing. "I earned this. I'm going." "Without a passport?" Dad raised an eyebrow. "Be realistic, honey. Maybe this is a blessing in disguise. You're not ready for something like this." "I'm more than ready." "She's just jealous," Bridget cut in, her voice trembling with fake tears. "Ever since I got asked to be youth pastor, she's been trying to one-up me. Now she's making up stories about missing passports to get attention." "I'm not making anything up." But even as I said it, I watched Mom pull Bridget into a hug, shooting me that look, the one that said I was being difficult again, causing problems, hurting my sister. "Olive," Mom sighed, "sometimes God closes doors for a reason. Remember what Pastor Mike said about contentment?" I felt something snap inside me. Not violently, more like a quiet click, a lock turning. "You're right," I said, surprising them all. "Maybe I should pray about it." "That's my girl," Dad smiled, relieved I was finally being reasonable. "I think I need some time alone," I added, heading for the stairs, "to process everything." "Of course, sweetie," Mom called after me. "I'll bring you some tea later." Back in my room, I closed the door and pulled out my phone. My hands weren't shaking anymore as I typed a message to Jamal. Plan Alpha is a go. His response came instantly. Backup passport ready. You sure about this? I glanced at my window, where I could see Bridget in her room across the yard, already on FaceTime with her friends, probably spreading the news of my latest failure. She caught my eye and blew me a kiss. I thought about all the years of sabotage, the constant gaslighting, the way they'd tried to clip my wings while praising Bridget for every minor achievement. They thought they had me figured out, the quiet, compliant eldest daughter who would eventually accept her place in their shadow. They had no idea what was coming. Absolutely sure, I texted back. See you at 5 a.m. I heard Mom's footsteps on the stairs, probably bringing that tea she promised. Time to play my part, one last time. After tomorrow, they'd learn that some doors aren't meant to be closed, and that underestimating me was their biggest mistake. I wiped my face, ready to look appropriately devastated when Mom knocked. Let them think they've won. In less than 48 hours, they'd realize just how wrong they were about everything, especially about me. Mom's tea sat untouched on my nightstand, growing cold while I pretended to sob into my pillow. Through my bedroom wall, I could hear Bridget's theatrical phone conversation. I just feel so bad for her, she was saying. She's always been, fragile. I checked my phone. 9:47 p.m. Time to set the next phase in motion. I walked downstairs, making sure to drag my feet just enough to sound dejected. Mom? Dad? Can we talk? They were in their usual spots. Dad in his recliner, Mom on the couch with her devotional book. They exchanged that look they always shared when dealing with my episodes. Of course, sweetheart. Mom patted the couch. We've been worried about you. I sat down, clutching my phone like a lifeline. I need to know if you've seen my passport. The one I lost a few months ago? Dad's head snapped up. Months ago? What do you mean, months ago? Oh, I said, letting my voice waver. I guess I never mentioned it. I lost it back in March, right after I got the scholarship news. I was so embarrassed. Mom's face tightened. March? But you just got the scholarship letter last week. Actually, I pulled up my email. I got it in February. I just didn't know how to tell you. You've been lying to us? Dad stood up, his face reddening. For months? Like how you're lying about taking my passport? I shot back. Bridget appeared in the doorway, right on cue. How dare you accuse us? Mom, Dad, she's just trying to blame everyone else for her mistakes. Again. I'm not stupid, I said, standing up. You've been sabotaging me for years. The science fair project? I saw you in the garage with matches the night before. My prom dress? You were doing laundry right before it got accidentally bleached. You're being ridiculous. Bridget's eyes filled with tears. Mom, make her stop. Olive, Mom's voice turned sharp. Apologizing to your sister right now? No. The word came out calm, certain. I'm done apologizing for existing. That's enough. Dad slammed his hand on the coffee table. Go to your room until you can show some respect. I turned to leave, then paused. You know what's funny? When I lost my passport in March, I went to get a replacement right away. The office said it would take 6 to 8 weeks to process. The silence in the room was deafening. That was 5 months ago, I continued. Plenty of time for a new one to arrive, don't you think? Mom's face went pale. Bridget stopped fake crying. You're bluffing, she whispered. I pulled out my phone again, this time opening my photos. Here's me at the passport office. Date stamp, March 15th. And here's the receipt. And look, here's the tracking number showing it was delivered in May. If you have another passport, Dad said slowly, where is it? I smiled. Somewhere safe, where none of you can get to it. You ungrateful little... Bridget lunged forward, but Mom caught her arm. Olive, Mom's voice trembled with forced calm. If you're planning something foolish... Like what? Following my dreams? Achieving something on my own? Or did you mean foolish like stealing your sister's passport and lying about it? I never, Bridget started. Save it, I cut her off. I don't need the passport you took. I don't need your approval. And I definitely don't need your prayers. I headed for the stairs, but Mom called after me. We only want what's best for you. I turned back one last time. No, you want what's easiest for you. There's a difference. Back in my room, I locked the door and pulled out my laptop. A message from Jamal popped up. Everything's set for tomorrow. You okay? I thought about the years of gaslighting, of being told I was overreacting, imagining things, being difficult. I thought about Bridget's innocent act, Mom's religious manipulation, Dad's dismissive sighs. Better than okay, I replied. They finally showed their true colors. My phone buzzed with texts from Bridget. You're making a huge mistake. Mom and Dad are really upset. Why do you always have to ruin everything? Please don't do this to our family. I blocked her number. Through the wall, I could hear her having another meltdown, Mom and Dad rushing to console her. The golden child's crown was slipping, and she knew it. I checked my hidden backpack one last time. Backup passport, scholarship documents, plane ticket. In less than 8 hours, I'd be on my way to the airport with Jamal. Let them think they'd won tonight. Let them believe their perfect family facade was still intact. Tomorrow would change everything. I set my alarm and lay down, not even trying to sleep. The time for being the quiet, understanding sister was over. Tomorrow, they'd learn what happens when you push someone too far. And I couldn't wait. The house was silent at 4:45 a.m. when I slipped out of bed, already fully dressed. I'd barely slept, but adrenaline kept me sharp as I retrieved my hidden backpack from the crawl space behind my closet. My phone vibrated. Jamal. Outside in 5. You ready? I took one last look around my room. 18 years of memories, most of them painful. The cross Mom hung over my bed for protection. The family photos where Bridget always stood front and center. The desk where I'd studied late into the night, dreaming of escape. On my pillow, I left a note. Some doors are meant to stay closed. Don't try to find me. The third stair from the bottom always creaked, so I stepped over it. In the kitchen, I could smell coffee. Dad must have set the automatic timer for his morning devotional. The pot burbled quietly, like it was keeping my secret. A floorboard creaked upstairs. I froze. Another creak, followed by footsteps. Someone was awake. I ducked behind the kitchen island just as Bridget appeared at the top of the stairs. She was heading to the bathroom, her eyes half closed with sleep. I held my breath until I heard the bathroom door click shut. My phone buzzed again. Here. I crept to the front door, turning the handle millimeter by millimeter. The hinges had other plans. They groaned like they were announcing my departure to the whole house. The bathroom door opened. Olive? Bridget's voice was sharp with suspicion. I didn't answer. Instead, I yanked the door open and bolted. Mom! Dad! Bridget screamed. She's leaving! Jamal's car idled at the curb, headlights off. I sprinted across the lawn as lights flicked on upstairs. Olive Grace James! Don't you dare! Dad's voice boomed from their bedroom window. I threw myself into Jamal's car. Go, go, go! He floored it just as my parents burst through the front door in their pajamas. In the rearview mirror, I watched Dad run halfway down the driveway before stopping, realizing he was barefoot. Holy shit, Jamal laughed, taking the corner too fast. That was intense. Keep driving, I said, my heart pounding. They might follow us. Already planned for that. He took 3 random turns, then pulled into a 24-hour grocery store parking lot. We'll switch to my sister's car. They don't know that one. As we transferred my bags, my phone exploded with notifications. Mom. Come home right now, young lady. Dad. You're making a terrible mistake. Bridget. I can't believe you'd hurt our family like this. Mom. We're calling the police. Dad, your mother is crying. Bridget, everyone will know what you did to us. I turned off my phone. You okay? Jamal asked as we pulled onto the highway in his sister's Honda. Better than okay, I said, watching the sunrise paint the sky pink. I'm free. We made it to the airport by 6 a.m. Jamal insisted on walking me to security. You sure about this? He asked. Once you go through those gates? I've never been more sure of anything. I hugged him tight. Thank you. For everything. Just promise you'll actually enjoy Rome instead of plotting revenge the whole time. Why not both? I grinned. Going through security felt surreal. Each step took me further from their control, their manipulation, their suffocating version of love. My backup passport worked perfectly. The TSA agent didn't even blink. At my gate, I finally turned my phone back on. Hundreds of messages, dozens of missed calls. But what caught my eye was Bridget's latest Instagram post. A selfie of her looking sad in my bedroom, caption reading, "Sister's night in. Some people don't understand that family comes first." The comments were already rolling in. You're such a good sister. She doesn't deserve you. Praying for your family. I smiled and opened my own Instagram, unused for months. I posted a single photo, my boarding pass to Rome, with the caption, "Some people don't understand that freedom comes first." Then I turned off my phone, tucked it away, and watched through the terminal window as my future arrived in the form of a Boeing 747. Now boarding flight 1852 to Rome, the announcer called. I stood up, grabbed my carry-on, and walked toward the gate without looking back. Behind me lay 18 years of being told I was too much, too ambitious, too different. Ahead lay everything I'd fought for. Let Bridget play the victim. Let my parents call the police. Let them all think they knew my story. I was about to write my own. Rome hit me like a symphony. Beautiful, overwhelming, and nothing like the sheltered life I'd left behind. Standing outside Leonardo da Vinci International Airport, I finally turned my phone back on. The messages had evolved from threats to bargaining. Mom, please just let us know you're safe. Dad, we can work this out as a family. Bridget, you're being so selfish. Mom hasn't stopped crying. A new text popped up from an unknown number. Hi, Olive. I'm Eva from the scholarship program. I'm your assigned mentor. Look for the red scarf at arrivals. I spotted her immediately. Tall, confident, wearing a bright smile along with that red scarf. You must be our American rebel, she said, pulling me into an unexpected hug. The program coordinators told me about your family situation. Don't worry, we've got your back. The scholarship residence was a converted monastery in Trastevere, all ancient stone and ivy-covered walls. My room overlooked a courtyard where students from around the world sat discussing politics and philosophy. Global policy orientation starts in an hour, Eva said, helping me with my bags. Fair warning, they're throwing you right into the deep end. The UN ambassador to Italy is giving the opening address. I must have looked terrified because she laughed. Relax. From what I've seen of your application, you're more than ready. The orientation room was packed with scholars and diplomats. I found a seat near the front, trying to look like I belonged. Today's first presenter, the program director announced, is a last-minute addition. Olive from New York will share her analysis of grassroots movements in digital spaces. My heart stopped. What? Ava nudged me. Surprise. I recommended you after reading your application essay. Show them what you've got. Walking to the podium, I thought of all the times Bridget had sabotaged my presentations, how my parents had dismissed my achievements. Not this time. I took a deep breath and began. Social media isn't just changing how we communicate. It's revolutionizing how we organize, protest, and create change. For 15 minutes, I owned that room. Questions flew, and I caught them all. The ambassador himself nodded approvingly. Afterward, Eva introduced me to everyone who mattered. Olive's research on digital activism is groundbreaking, she told the program director. We're lucky to have her. My phone buzzed. A local news website from back home had picked up my story. Local students' dramatic path to prestigious scholarship raises questions about family dynamics. The comments section was war. I know this family from church. There's more to this story. Good for her for breaking free. What kind of sister steals a passport? Then I saw Bridget's latest post. A tearful video about praying for those who abandon their families. The comments were less sympathetic than usual. Didn't your sister win some big scholarship? Why would anyone steal their sister's passport? Maybe there's a reason she left. Eva peered over my shoulder. Your sister? The golden child, I said. Or she was. Well, she's about to be overshadowed. The program wants to feature you in their international promo video. Filming starts tomorrow. My hands shook as I realized what this meant. Back home, they'd be forced to watch me succeed. No more hiding my achievements. No more pretending I was the problem. That night, I sat in the courtyard with other scholars, sharing stories over wine and pasta. For the first time, I felt seen, understood, valued. My phone lit up with a news alert. Rising Leader Award nominee, announced, Olive from New York, selected for global innovation. Eva appeared with a bottle of champagne. Congratulations, though you might want to check your email first. The program director had written, Your presentation today was exceptional. We'd like you to speak at the award ceremony next month. International press will be present. I imagined Bridget's face when she saw the news. Mom and Dad trying to explain to their church friends why they never mentioned their daughter's achievements. You're smiling, Eva observed. Thinking about home? Thinking about justice, I replied. She clinked her glass against mine. To justice, then, and to the family we choose. Under the Roman stars, surrounded by people who celebrated instead of suppressed me, I felt something shift. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about becoming who I was always meant to be. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Dad. We saw the news. We need to talk. I turned off my phone and rejoined the group, where someone was proposing a midnight tour of the Colosseum. Let them squirm. Let them wonder. Let them watch. I was done hiding my light. And now, our special international segment. The news anchor's voice filled my family's living room back in New York. A remarkable story of academic excellence and perseverance. Through Jamal's group chat updates, I could picture the scene perfectly. Mom dropping her coffee mug, Dad frozen in his recliner, Bridget's perfectly curated mask cracking as my face appeared on their TV screen. Olive from Westchester, New York, has been named this year's Rising Leader Award recipient, the anchor continued. Her groundbreaking work on digital activism has caught the attention of global policymakers. The camera cut to my interview, filmed in front of the Trevi Fountain. I'd worn red, Bridget's signature color, just to twist the knife. Success isn't about proving others wrong, I said on screen, looking directly into the camera. It's about proving yourself right. Sometimes the people closest to you can't see your potential. That doesn't make it any less real. Jamal's text came seconds later. Holy shit. Your sister just stormed out. Your mom's trying to call the station to correct some misinformation. The local Facebook groups were exploding. Isn't that the James family's daughter? Their church always made it sound like she was troubled. My kid went to school with her sister Bridget. There were rumors. I watched it unfold through social media. Bridget's carefully constructed image was unraveling in real time. You said she wasn't going anywhere. Bridget's voice echoed through their house, according to Jamal's play-by-play. You said she'd fail. Mom's damage control started immediately. She posted in the church group, So proud of our Olive. We've always supported her dreams. Proud Mama. The comments were merciless. Wasn't this the daughter you said was finding herself? Didn't your other daughter post about her abandoning the family? Pretty sure you told my wife she was lost last Sunday. Dad tried calling again. Olive, please. Your mother's reputation at church. I let it go to voicemail. Bridget's Instagram followers were jumping ship. Her latest tearful video about family loyalty backfired spectacularly. Didn't you steal her passport? My cousin goes to your school. Everyone knows what you did. Maybe focus on your own achievements instead of sabotaging others. She deleted the video, then her entire account. Eva found me watching the chaos unfold from my apartment balcony. Your phone's been buzzing for an hour. Family drama? Justice, I said, showing her the local news website. They dug up my old academic records. Straight A's, science fair wins, debate team championships. All the achievements my family had minimized or ignored. Your sister's youth pastor position? Eva read from her phone. They're reconsidering it due to character concerns. I hadn't planned that part, but karma has its own agenda. Look at this. Eva pointed to another notification. The scholarship program's PR team had released my full schedule of speaking engagements. I'd be addressing the European Parliament next month. My phone lit up with a text from Mom. People are asking questions at church. Please call us. We can explain everything. Then Dad. This isn't very Christian of you, Olive. And finally, Bridget. You've ruined everything. I hope you're happy. I was. Eva poured 2 glasses of wine. To watching them squirm? To living well, I corrected her. It really is the best revenge. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Jamal. You need to see this. He'd sent a video from outside my old house. News vans lined the street. A reporter was interviewing neighbors. They always favored the younger one. That poor girl, working so hard while they praised her sister. The church is launching an investigation into the family's behavior. Mom had locked herself inside. Dad wasn't taking calls. Bridget's friends were distancing themselves publicly. Their perfect family facade was crumbling, and they had no one to blame but themselves. The UN wants you to expand your speaking tour, Eva mentioned casually. 3 more countries, all expenses paid. I thought about my family watching each appearance, unable to deny or diminish my success anymore. Every achievement would be another crack in their carefully constructed narrative. When do we leave? Eva grinned. That's my girl. Oh, and heads up. International press conference tomorrow. Any message you want to send back home? I looked out over Rome's skyline, thinking of all the times they'd told me to dream smaller, aim lower, stay in my place. Just one, I said, pulling up the camera app. Sometimes the black sheep of the family turns out to be the only one who saw things clearly. I posted it with a photo of me at the Colosseum, red dress glowing in the sunset, success written all over my face. Let them choke on it. The press conference room buzzed with energy as cameras flashed. Eva stood beside me, whispering last-minute advice. Remember, you're not just a scholarship recipient anymore. You're a symbol. Ms. Olive, a reporter called out. Your research on digital activism has caught the UN's attention. But there's also significant interest in your personal story. Would you care to comment on the family situation that's gone viral? I leaned into the microphone, thinking of all the times I'd been silenced. My story isn't unique. Many young people face family dynamics that suppress rather than support their ambitions. The difference is, I refuse to accept that suppression as love. Your sister recently posted that you're twisting the narrative for attention. Your response? I think the evidence speaks for itself, I said, pulling up a presentation slide. Here's my academic record. Here's my passport application timeline. Here's the security footage from my high school showing my sister tampering with my science fair project. I didn't create this narrative. I just stopped hiding it. The room erupted with questions. Through the live stream comments, I could see my hometown reacting in real time. Sources say your parents are claiming they always supported your dreams, another reporter pressed. yet we have multiple church members stating otherwise. I have 18 years of receipts, I replied calmly. Would you like to see them? Back home, Bridget's carefully constructed world was imploding. Jamal sent me clips from her latest youth group meeting. How can you teach us about integrity? One teen challenged her. Didn't you steal your sister's passport? My mom says we need a new youth leader. She'd run out crying. For once, her tears weren't getting her what she wanted. Mom's desperate attempts at damage control only made things worse. She'd posted a long Facebook statement about supporting both our daughters equally, until someone shared screenshots of her previous posts dismissing my achievements. The church board called an emergency meeting. Dad stopped showing up for his men's prayer breakfast. Their social standing was crumbling. Breaking news, my phone alert chimed. Global Policy Initiative expands youth leadership program, names Olive as program ambassador. Eva nudged me. They're offering you a permanent position after graduation. Full diplomatic status. I thought of all the times my parents had insisted I'd never succeed outside their protective bubble. Now I was being offered a career they couldn't even comprehend. One more question, a reporter called out. Your sister's recent video suggested you're punishing the family. Are you? No, I said firmly. I'm succeeding. They're just not used to that. After the conference, Eva showed me the latest stats. My story had gone beyond viral. It was becoming a movement. Why Black Sheep success was trending. Check your email, she said, grinning. The White House Youth Leadership Summit wants you as their keynote speaker. I opened my laptop to find hundreds of messages from young people sharing similar stories. My family tried to stop me from going to college. They always favored my brother. You gave me courage to apply for that scholarship. Then I saw it, an email thread titled Family Updates. Mom had created it years ago to share Bridget's achievements with relatives. I'd never been mentioned. I clicked Reply All and attached my latest interview clip. Sometimes love doesn't feel like love at all. Sometimes it feels like control, like suppression, like constant reminders to be less so someone else can be more. That's not love. That's abuse dressed up as protection. Send. Within minutes, relatives I hadn't heard from in years started responding. We had no idea. Your parents only ever talked about Bridget. This explains so much. Jamal texted. Your mom just left church in tears. The pastor's wife refused to sit with her. Bridget got removed from the youth leadership program, his next message read, officially for personal reasons. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I felt light, free, like I could finally breathe without wondering if I was taking up too much air. Eva appeared with a stack of papers. Ready to sign your contract? The UN doesn't wait forever. As I signed, my phone lit up with one last message from Dad. We hope you find what you're looking for. No apology, no acknowledgement. Just distance wrapped in passive-aggressive concern. I picked up my phone and typed, I already found it. I found myself, the self you tried to bury. And she's magnificent. Then I turned to Ava. When's our flight to Geneva? Tomorrow morning, she smiled. The world's waiting. Let them watch from their small-town shadows. Let them see what happens when you try to dim someone's light. I was done hiding, and I was just getting started. The gala ballroom sparkled with diplomatic elegance as I adjusted my microphone. 6 months had passed since my escape, and tonight was the culmination of everything. The Rising Leader Award ceremony, broadcast worldwide. Ready? Eva straightened my navy blue gown. Your family's definitely watching. Jamal says they've gathered at your house with the church elders to pray for your soul. I smiled. Let them pray. I'm done feeling guilty for their discomfort. The program director took the stage. Tonight's recipient redefined what it means to overcome adversity. Please welcome Olive. Walking to that podium, I remembered every dismissive comment, every sabotaged opportunity, every time they'd told me to be less. Not tonight. Success stories usually start with, "I had a dream," I began. Mine starts with, "I had a backup passport." Gentle laughter rippled through the crowd. We talk about toxic relationships, but rarely about toxic love. The kind that clips your wings while claiming to protect you. The kind that praises mediocrity in one child while punishing excellence in another. In the audience, I spotted several ambassadors leaning forward, nodding. My sister stole my passport to stop me from being here tonight. My parents supported her decision, calling it God's will. But here's what they never understood. Sometimes love doesn't feel like love at all. The cameras panned across the rapt audience. They thought they were protecting me. In reality, they were protecting themselves from the discomfort of watching me outgrow their limitations. My phone buzzed silently in my clutch. Jamal's update. "Your mom just left the room crying. Bridget's trying to live stream a response but keeps getting error messages. To every young person being told to dream smaller," I continued, "to accept less, to stay in their place. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Your potential isn't a threat to anyone except those who want to control you." Ava gave me a thumbs up from the side stage. Tonight I accept this award not just for myself, but for every black sheep who refused to graze where they were told. For every scapegoat who decided to soar instead of suffer. The applause started building. And to my family, watching from home, I paused, letting the weight of the moment settle. Thank you. Your attempts to contain me only proved how much space I was meant to take up. Your fear of my light only showed how brightly it could shine. Standing ovation. Camera flashes, tears in the audience. Later at the reception, my phone exploded with notifications. Bridget had finally managed to post her response video. "My sister's speech was a cruel attack on our loving family," she sobbed. "We only wanted what was best." The comments cut her off. "Give it up, sis. Return the passport yet? Your act isn't working anymore." She deleted it within minutes. Ava appeared with a group of UN officials. "They want to expand your speaking tour. Asia, Africa, South America. Your story is resonating globally." My phone lit up with a text from Mom. "We hope you find what you're looking for." The same message as before. Still no apology. Still no acknowledgement. I handed my phone to Eva. "Block their numbers. All of them." "You sure?" "They're not watching to understand. They're watching to find weaknesses, to prove they were right about me all along. I'm done performing for their approval." A reporter approached with one last question. "What makes you most proud of your journey?" I thought about the scared girl who'd hidden a backup passport, the sister who'd endured years of sabotage, the daughter who'd been told her dreams were too big. "That I got here on my own," I said, "even when no one believed I should." After the cameras left, Eva found me on the balcony. "Your story's been picked up by major networks. They're calling you the voice of a generation." "And my family?" "Your aunt called the program office. Apparently your parents are taking a break from church leadership to focus on family healing." I laughed. Translation? They can't handle the public scrutiny. "And Bridget?" "Lost her youth pastor position, her social media influence, and her perfect daughter crown. Turns out karma doesn't take prayer requests." Eva handed me a glass of champagne. "To the black sheep?" "To freedom," I corrected her, "and to never looking back." Below us, Rome glittered like a sea of possibilities. Somewhere in New York, my family was probably crafting their next narrative about their lost daughter. But I wasn't lost. For the first time in my life, I was exactly where I was meant to be. And I was never going back to being small. The interview questions glowed on my laptop screen as I settled into my hotel suite in Geneva. A global youth magazine wanted my take on family dynamics and personal growth. The usual softball questions, until the last one caught my eye. Was revenge worth the cost of losing your family? Ava lounged on the couch nearby, scrolling through our schedule. "You don't have to answer that one." Actually, I do. I began typing. Revenge implies I acted out of spite. I simply stopped accepting their version of love as the only version possible. The real question isn't whether revenge was worth it. It's whether freedom is worth the price of admission. My phone buzzed. Jamal had sent a local news clip. My parents' church was splitting over differing interpretations of family values. The pastor who'd once praised their parenting had publicly questioned their methods. "Your mom tried joining a new church," Jamal texted. "They Googled her first." I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no regret, just peaceful detachment. "Ms. Olive?" A knock at my door. "The UN Secretary General moved up your meeting. Cars waiting downstairs." Eva grabbed her tablet. "Ready to change some policies?" "Almost." I turned back to the interview. Success isn't sweet revenge. It's proof that their limitations were never mine. Their small dreams were never my ceiling. Their fear was never my future. The hotel lobby bustled with diplomatic activity. As we waited for the elevator, I noticed a mother and daughter arguing nearby. "But I don't want to be a lawyer," the girl protested. "I want to study art." "We're not having this discussion," the mother hissed. "Family tradition." "Excuse me," I found myself saying. Both turned, recognizing me instantly. "You're that speaker," the mother said. The one whose family tried to clip her wings?" "Yes." I turned to the daughter. "Let me guess. They say they're protecting you?" The girl nodded, wide-eyed. "Protection that feels like a cage isn't protection at all." I handed her my card. "Email me. I know some great art schools in Rome." The mother opened her mouth to object, then stopped, something shifting in her expression. In the car, Eva raised an eyebrow. "That was new." "Maybe that's the real revenge," I said. "Helping others avoid what I went through." My phone lit up with a notification. Bridget had posted for the first time in months. To my sister, "I'm sorry. Not for the cameras, not for likes. Just sorry. I was wrong." Comments poured in. "Character growth. Finally some honesty. Takes courage to admit fault." I clicked her profile. Her bio had changed. "Learning to celebrate others' light instead of trying to dim it." "Are you going to respond?" Eva asked. "No." I put my phone away. Her growth isn't my responsibility anymore. At the UN building, an aide rushed up. "The Secretary General asked if you'd share your personal story before discussing policy." I thought about that scared girl with a backup passport, about Bridget's first genuine apology, about that mother in the lobby, reconsidering her stance. "Tell him I'll share something better," I said. "I'll share what comes after survival." That evening, back in my suite, I opened my laptop to finish the interview. People ask if revenge was worth losing my family. But that assumes family is only blood and binding ties. Sometimes family is the friend who helps you escape, the mentor who sees your potential, the strangers who become your strongest supporters. Sometimes family is choosing yourself when no one else will. And sometimes, the greatest revenge isn't making them sorry, it's making them irrelevant to your happiness. I hit send, then walked to the window. Geneva's lights sparkled below, each one a possibility, a future, a dream unbound by anyone's limitations but my own. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from an unknown number. "I saw your speech. I'm leaving for college tomorrow. My parents said I couldn't, but I got a backup passport too. Thank you for showing me how." I smiled, remembering that first taste of freedom on the flight to Rome. "Good luck," I typed back. "The world is bigger than their fears." Eva appeared at my door. "Car's here. Ready for your TED Talk?" I grabbed my notes, catching my reflection in the mirror. No more shadows in my eyes, no more tension in my shoulders. Just strength, purpose, and the quiet confidence of someone who chose herself. "Ready," I said, stepping into the hallway. Let's go help some more black sheep fly. Behind me, my phone lit up with another message from Bridget. Whatever it said could wait. I had a future to build, and it was brighter than any past they'd tried to trap me in. That was the sweetest revenge of all.
The last time I saw my sister Meredith, she was smirking at me across our parents' mahogany dining table while my mother sobbed into her napkin. I always knew you'd amount to nothing, my father had just finished saying, his words hanging in the air like poison. I'm jailer, and that night 5 years ago was the last time I let my family make me feel small. Sweetheart, we just want what's best for you, my mother Hope managed between theatrical sniffs. If you'd just listened to Meredith about the job at her firm. The entry-level admin position, I cut in, my voice steadier than I felt. The one where I'd be fetching her coffee. Meredith's perfect smile didn't waver. Everyone has to start somewhere, little sister. Some of us just start higher than others. The familiar knot in my stomach tightened. I'd lived in Meredith's shadow for 26 years, watching her collect accolades while I collected criticisms. Every achievement of mine was measured against hers and found wanting. Every mistake became family legend. I already have a job, I said quietly. I'm doing well at the tech startup. Playing with computers, my father Glenn interrupted, swirling his whiskey. Meanwhile, your sister is running charitable organisations, making real differences in people's lives. Making differences in her bank account, you mean? I muttered. The silence that followed was deafening. Meredith's smile finally cracked. What exactly are you implying? She hissed. Before I could respond, my mother jumped in. Jailer, apologise to your sister right now, after everything she's done for you? Done for me? I laughed, and it sounded foreign even to my ears. What exactly has she done except ensure I never forgot my place? That's enough, my father slammed his glass down. You've always been jealous of Meredith's success. If you spent half as much time working as you do, complaining. I work 60 hours a week, I said, standing up. I'm leading development on a major project, but you've never once asked about it, have you? Sit down, my mother ordered. We're not finished. Actually, we are. I grabbed my purse. I'm done being the family disappointment. I'm done watching you worship Meredith while treating me like I'm broken. I'm just done. Meredith's voice dripped with fake concern. Mum, Dad, she's just having another one of her episodes. Remember that time in high school when... Goodbye, I cut her off, walking toward the door. Don't try to contact me. If you walk out that door, my father called after me, don't expect any help when you fail, and you will fail. I paused in the doorway, looking back at them one last time. My mother's mascara-streaked face, my father's rigid disapproval, and Meredith's satisfied smirk. They looked exactly as they always had, a perfect family portrait with one glaring imperfection. Me. Watch me, I said, and closed the door behind me. 5 years passed. 5 years of silence, of building something they couldn't diminish, of becoming someone they wouldn't recognise. 5 years of peace. Until my phone buzzed with a message from my cousin Presley this morning. Hey, stranger, you're not going to believe this, but Grandma Emery's 80th birthday party is next month. The whole family's coming. Meredith's organising everything, and she's planning something wild. She's been asking about you. A lot. I stared at the message, my coffee growing cold beside my laptop. Through my office window, I could see the city skyline. The same view that had graced magazine covers featuring my company. The same view my family would never believe I owned. Another message from Presley popped up. You should come. Show them who you are now. My finger hovered over the delete button, but something stopped me. Maybe it was time. Time to show them exactly who Jailer Francis had become while they weren't watching. My phone buzzed again, a news alert this time. Tech innovator makes Forbes 30 under 40. My own face stared back at me from the screen, though I'd insisted they use my middle name for the article. My family never read tech news anyway. I thought of Meredith, so desperate to know what I'd been doing, planning something wild for Grandma's party. My sister always did love a good show. Well, I murmured to myself, let's give her one. I typed a quick reply to Presley. Tell me more about this party. Someone's been poking around your socials, Hugh said, dropping into the chair across from my desk. And I don't mean the usual tech journalists. I minimised the quarterly reports on my screen. Let me guess, my sister? Not directly. Hugh leaned forward, lowering his voice despite us being alone in my office. But that cousin of yours, the chatty one who messaged you about the party, she told me Meredith's been showing everyone pictures of you outside some luxury condo in Manhattan. Interesting, considering I've never posted anything about where I live. Exactly. Hugh had been my right hand since the startup days, back when we were coding in a basement. He knew everything, including why I kept my success hidden from my family. She hired someone, Jayla, a PI. I felt a familiar chill, the same one I used to get before family dinners. You're sure? Remember Marcus from IT security? His wife works for an investigations firm. She overheard your sister's name mentioned in a briefing. My phone buzzed. Another message from Presley. OMG, Jay, you have to hear what Meredith just told everyone in the family group chat. She says you've been lying about everything. Says she has proof you're not who you say you are. I showed Hugh the message. He whistled low. She's trying to set you up for something big at that party. Let her try. I stood up, walking to the window. 15 floors below, people looked like ants scurrying between skyscrapers. She wants to expose me. Fine, but she might not like what she finds. What are you thinking? Before I could answer, my assistant Sarah buzzed in. Miss Francis, your 2 o'clock is here, the venture capital meeting. Thanks, Sarah. Hugh, we'll finish this later. He nodded, heading for the door, then paused. Just be careful, okay? I know that look. You're planning something. After he left, I opened my laptop and pulled up my private email. 3 new messages from family members I hadn't spoken to in years, all asking variations of the same question. Was it true? Had I really been pretending to be successful? I clicked delete on all of them. My phone rang, Grandma Emery's number. My finger hovered over decline, but something made me answer. Hello? About time you picked up. Her voice was exactly as I remembered, sharp, clear, taking no nonsense. Your sister's telling everyone you're some sort of con artist. Is she now? Don't play coy with me, girl. Are you coming to this party or not? I hesitated. Would you want me there? Wouldn't ask if I didn't. A pause. Something's not right with all this. Meredith's too excited, like she's planning a public execution instead of a birthday party. Sounds like her. Jayla. Her tone softened slightly. What really happened 5 years ago? Before I could answer, my email pinged. A new message, no subject line, from an address I didn't recognize, just a photo attachment. I opened it and felt my blood freeze. It was me, walking into my office building yesterday morning, coffee in hand. The angle suggested it was taken from across the street. I have to go, Grandma. I'll think about the party. I hung up and enlarged the photo. In the corner, barely visible, a watermark. Man Investigations. My phone buzzed again, this time a text from an unknown number. Interesting career trajectory for someone who was playing with computers 5 years ago. Your sister says hello. I should have felt scared. Instead, I felt something else, something harder, colder, something that had been building for 5 years. I dialed Hugh. Remember that contact you mentioned? The one whose wife works at the PI firm? I need a meeting. Today. Jayla? They're watching my building, Hugh, taking pictures. If Meredith wants to play detective, fine, but she forgot something important. What's that? I looked at the photo again, at my designer suit and the logo of my company clearly visible behind me. I'm not that scared little sister anymore, and I have resources she can't imagine. What are you going to do? I thought about Meredith's smirk that last night, about all the time she'd torn me down to build herself up, about the lies she was spreading now, trying to destroy whatever she thought I'd become. I'm going to let her finish her investigation, I said quietly, and then I'm going to show her what a real takedown looks like. The truth was coming, all of it, and this time I'd be the one smirking across the table. Fletcher Mann's office looked exactly like you'd expect a private investigator's workspace to look. Weathered leather chairs, filing cabinets, and a desk that had seen better decades. The man himself was a surprise. Crisp suit, sharp eyes, and a demeanour that suggested he'd rather be anywhere else. "Miss Francis," he said, not standing. "I assume this is about the surveillance photos." "You assumed right." I sat across from him, matching his posture. "Want to tell me why you're taking pictures of me for my sister?" He studied me for a long moment. "Professional courtesy prevents me from discussing other clients." "Professional courtesy didn't stop you from sending me that photo." A slight smile crossed his face. "Ah, that?" "Yes, that." I leaned forward. "So either you're playing both sides, or something about this case made you reach out. Which is it?" Fletcher opened a drawer, pulled out a thick manila envelope. "Your sister hired me to prove you were lying about your success. She was quite insistent that I'd find evidence of fraud, deception, maybe even criminal activity. And instead I found this." He slid the envelope across the desk. "Take a look. Inside were documents, photos, financial records, my company's valuation reports, pictures of my penthouse, my vacation home in the Berkshires, press clippings about my tech innovations, everything I'd worked for, laid out in black and white." "Impressive portfolio," Fletcher said quietly. "Self-made, clean, legal, the opposite of what your sister wanted to find." "So why show me?" "Because while investigating you, I found something else, something that wasn't supposed to be there." He pulled another thinner envelope from his desk. "This was misfiled in your sister's background documents. I don't think she knows I have it." My hands shook slightly as I opened it. Inside was a single page, a bank statement from Meredith's charitable organisation. Red flags jumped out immediately: irregular transfers, mismatched amounts, funds moving to personal accounts. "Is this what I think it is?" Fletcher nodded. "Your sister's been embezzling from her own charity. Small amounts at first, then larger ones. The investigation into her activities started 3 months ago." "She doesn't know?" "Not yet, but she will." He leaned back. "Here's the thing, Miss Francis. I don't like being used. Your sister hired me to destroy you, fed me lies about who you were. Instead, I found someone who built something real." My phone buzzed. Another message from Presley. "Meredith's telling everyone she's going to expose you at Grandma's party. Says she has proof you're living a lie." I showed Fletcher the message. He actually laughed. "She's planning to present my report at the party," he said. "Thinks it'll humiliate you, show everyone you're a fraud. But instead she'll be presenting proof of your legitimate success to your entire family." He gestured to the envelopes. "Take them, both of them. Consider it my apology for the surveillance." I stood, gathering the documents. "Why are you really helping me?" "Let's just say I have a sister too." He smiled grimly. "And sometimes karma needs a little push." Outside his office I called Hugh. "Well?" he asked. "It's better than we thought. Meredith's not just trying to expose me, she's going to accidentally expose herself." "What do you mean?" "She's been stealing from her charity, Hugh, and she's about to hand me proof of both my success and her crimes in front of our entire family." A low whistle. "That's poetic justice?" I smiled, thinking of all those family dinners, all those smirks and cutting remarks. "The best part, she's paying for her own downfall." "Want to guess where she got the money to hire Fletcher?" "Don't tell me." "The family trust account, the same one she always said I wasn't responsible enough to access." My phone buzzed again. An email from my mother. "Jailer, please don't come to the party. Don't make things worse than they already are." I deleted it without responding. 5 years ago, I'd walked away from their table feeling broken. This time, I'd walk in knowing exactly who I was, and more importantly, who Meredith really was. "Hugh," I said, sliding into my car, "remember how you said I was planning something?" "Yeah." "I'm not anymore." I looked at the envelopes on my passenger seat. I'm just going to let Meredith's plan play out exactly as she intended. Sometimes the best revenge is letting people destroy themselves. The party was 2 weeks away. For once I couldn't wait for a family gathering. "Holy shit," Hugh whispered, spreading Fletcher's documents across my office table. "This is comprehensive." I nodded, watching him flip through pages of my life's work. Forbes features, property deeds, company valuations, all of it meticulously documented. Meredith wanted proof. She got it, but not the proof she wanted. Hugh held up a glossy photo of me speaking at a tech conference. This is going to backfire spectacularly. My phone lit up. Another message from Meredith, the first direct contact in 5 years. "Hope you're ready for Grandma's party, little sister. Time to show everyone who you really are." I showed Hugh the message. He snorted. "She has no idea, does she? None." I picked up the second envelope, the one containing Meredith's secrets. But this is the real bomb. We spent the next hour reviewing the charity's financial records. The pattern was clear. Small withdrawals at first, growing larger over time. Money meant for children's programs diverted to personal accounts. Luxury purchases disguised as operational expenses. "Look at this," Hugh pointed to a particular transaction. "She used charity funds to hire Fletcher." Not just that. I pulled up my banking app. She also drained $10,000 from the family trust account, the one she manages, on the same day. Can she do that legally? No. It requires all beneficiaries' approval. I laughed darkly. She probably figured I'd never know, since I haven't touched that account in years. My office door opened, and Sarah poked her head in. "Sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this. Meredith just posted something in your family's Facebook group." I pulled it up on my laptop. There it was, a long, seemingly heartfelt post about protecting the family from deception and revealing painful truths. She'd even tagged Grandma Emery. "The comments," Hugh said, leaning over my shoulder. "Look at them." Dozens of relatives chiming in with support. My mother writing, "It's for the best, sweetheart, she needs help." My father adding, "Some people can't handle the truth." Only one comment stood out, Grandma Emery's. "Careful what truths you dig for, girl. You might not like what you find." "Grandma knows something," Hugh said. "She always knows something." I closed the laptop. That's why Meredith's doing this at her birthday party. She thinks Grandma's approval will legitimize her attack. My phone buzzed again. Fletcher this time. "Your sister just demanded the final report. Says she needs it for a family presentation. Thought you should know." I typed back, "Let her have it." Hugh raised an eyebrow. "You're really going to let her do this?" "Watch," I said, pulling up the trust account records on my screen. "Meredith's so focused on exposing me, she's getting sloppy. Look at these transfers. She's been stealing for months, thinking no one would notice." "But you did?" "No," I smiled. "Grandma did. 3 weeks ago, she requested an audit of all family accounts. That's what triggered the investigation into Meredith's charity. So when Meredith presents Fletcher's report, she'll be presenting evidence of my success to a grandmother who already knows about her fraud." I leaned back. Sometimes the best revenge is just sitting back and watching. Sarah appeared again. "Miss Francis, the board meeting is in 10 minutes. "Thanks, Sarah." I stood, straightening my jacket. "Hugh, can you finish reviewing these? I want to know every detail before the party." "Sure, but—" He hesitated. "Are you really going to expose her in front of everyone?" I thought about all the times Meredith had humiliated me at family gatherings, all the smirks, the subtle digs, the way she'd positioned herself as the successful sister while painting me as the failure. "No," I said finally, "I'm going to let her expose herself." My phone lit up one last time, a message from Grandma Emery. "Got my party invitation today. Says you're coming. About time, girl. Bring that backbone I know you've grown." I smiled, typing back, "Don't worry, Grandma. I'm not the same person who left 5 years ago." "Good," she replied immediately, "because neither is your sister, and only one of you is going to like how this party ends. Looking at the documents spread across my table, proof of both my rise and Meredith's fall, I knew exactly which one of us that would be. "Hugh," I called as I headed to my meeting, "make sure those documents are somewhere safe. The party's in 10 days, and Meredith's not the only one who knows how to make a presentation." Sometimes karma needs a little help, and sometimes it just needs an audience. The week before Grandma's party, the messages started flooding in. First came my mother's daily guilt trips. "Please reconsider coming. You'll only embarrass yourself." "Why can't you just let Meredith help you?" "We're only trying to protect you from yourself." Delete, delete, delete. I was in the middle of a board meeting when Presley called 3 times. "You need to hear this," she said when I finally stepped out to answer. "I just overheard Meredith on the phone with Fletcher. She's planning to do this presentation thing right after Grandma's cake. Says she's going to save the family from your lies or something. Did she mention what lies exactly?" "No, but—" Presley lowered her voice. "She's acting weird, Jay, like manic almost, keeps checking her bank accounts on her phone. Yesterday she tried to access the trust fund again, but Grandma's locked it down for routine audit purposes." I smiled. "How did Meredith take that?" She threw her phone across the room. Perfect. The pressure was getting to her. "Thanks, Presley. Keep me posted." Back in my office, Hugh was waiting with more news. "Your sister just tried to get into the building. Security stopped her." "Here?" I walked to the window. 15 floors below, I could just make out Meredith's signature red coat as she stormed to her car. "What did she want?" "To speak with the CEO." Hugh grinned. "Guess she doesn't know that's you." My phone buzzed. A text from Fletcher. "Your sister's getting desperate. Asked me to dig deeper, find something more damaging. I told her the report was final." I was about to respond when another call came in. Grandma Emery. "You busy?" she asked when I answered. "Never too busy for you, Grandma." "Good, because I'm outside your building." I froze. "What?" "Saw your sister making a scene down here. Figured it was time we talked." A pause. "Nice office you've got. Corner suite, I'm guessing." 10 minutes later, Grandma Emery sat across from me, looking exactly as I remembered. Elegant, sharp-eyed, and completely unimpressed by the view that made most visitors gasp. "So," she said, setting down her tea, "this is what you've been hiding." "I wasn't hiding." Save it." She waved her hand. "I've known about your success for months. What I want to know is why you let them think otherwise." I met her gaze. Would they have believed me if I'd told them? "No," she admitted. "They'd have assumed you were lying, just like Meredith does now." She smiled slightly, even though she's seen the proof. "You know about Fletcher's report?" "I know about a lot of things." She pulled out her phone, showed me an email. "Like this audit report on your sister's charity. Interesting reading." "Grandma?" "Don't worry, I won't spoil her big presentation." She stood, straightening her jacket. "Just tell me one thing. Are you ready for this?" "For Meredith's attack?" "No." Her eyes were steel. "For the fallout, because when this is over, nothing in this family will be the same." Before I could respond, my phone lit up with a message from my father. "Your mother's in tears over what you're putting Meredith through. I hope you're happy." I showed it to Grandma. She read it and laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh, they have no idea what's coming, do they?" She headed for the door, then paused. "Wear that navy suit to the party, the one from your Forbes shoot. It'll look good in the photos." "What photos?" "The ones everyone will be taking when Meredith's presentation backfires." She winked. "I may be turning 80, but I still know how to stage a show." After she left, Hugh came in. "Was that really your grandmother?" "The one and only." She seemed terrifying. I was going to say prepared. My phone buzzed one final time. Meredith. "Last chance, little sister. Back out now, or I'll destroy everything you've pretended to build." I thought about the documents in my safe, about Grandma's knowing smile, about 5 years of silence and strength. "You can't destroy what's real," I typed back. Then I pulled up the party invitation on my screen. 3 days to go. 3 days until Meredith would stand up, thinking she was about to tear me down, only to reveal her own destruction instead. "Hugh," I called out, "clear my schedule for Monday. I've got a birthday party to attend." And a sister to watch self-destruct. The country club ballroom fell silent when I walked in. Conversation stopped mid-sentence, champagne glasses frozen halfway to lips, all eyes turning to watch me enter. I spotted Meredith near the cake table, her face going from smug to shocked as she took in my appearance. The navy suit had the exact effect Grandma predicted. Professional, powerful, expensive. "Jayla?" My mother's voice cracked. How are you?" "Happy birthday, Grandma," I said, ignoring her and walking straight to where Grandma Emery sat in her place of honour. I handed her a small wrapped package. "Right on time," Grandma said, loud enough for everyone to hear. She patted the empty seat beside her. "Sit!" Whispers erupted around the room. This seat, right next to the birthday girl, was supposed to be Meredith's. "That's my place," Meredith said, rushing over. "Mum, tell her—" "Let her sit," Grandma cut in. Her tone left no room for argument. "It's my birthday. I'll seat who I want, where I want." I caught my father's eye across the room. He looked away first. The next hour was a symphony of awkward small talk and pointed questions. Relatives I hadn't seen in years suddenly wanted to know everything about my life. I gave them nothing, just smiled and turned their questions back on them. "Enough chit-chat," Meredith finally announced, tapping her glass. "It's time for the special presentation I prepared." She pulled out a thick envelope, Fletcher's report, and moved to the small podium set up near Grandma's chair. "Before we begin," my mother interrupted, "perhaps Jayla should step out." "No," Grandma said firmly, "everyone stays." Meredith cleared her throat. "As you all know, family means everything to me. That's why it breaks my heart to expose what I'm about to expose." She looked directly at me. "Some people have been deceiving us, living lies, pretending to be something they're not." I sat back, relaxed, let her talk. "I hired a private investigator," she continued, pride in her voice, "to uncover the truth about my sister's supposed success and what he found." "Show us!" Grandma interrupted. "Stop talking and show us what he found." Meredith faltered slightly but recovered. "Of course, I'll start with these photos." She pulled out the first one, me entering my office building, the company logo clearly visible behind me. "This is where my sister claims to work," she said. "A tech company valued at—" She stopped, actually reading the paper for the first time. Her face went pale. "Go on," Grandma encouraged. "What's the company valued at?" This can't be right." Meredith shuffled through more papers. "These documents show—" "Show what?" I asked quietly. "Property deeds," she mumbled. "Stock options, board member appointments, Forbes interviews." The room was dead silent now, everyone watching as Meredith's hands started shaking. "Read it," Grandma commanded. "Read what that investigator found about Jayla." She's the CEO," Meredith whispered. "The company. It's hers, all of it." My mother made a choking sound. My father's whiskey glass slipped from his hand, shattering on the floor. "Keep going," Grandma said. "There's more, isn't there?" But Meredith had reached the last pages, the ones about her charity. I saw the moment she recognised what she was holding. Her face went from pale to grey. I think there's been a mistake," she stammered. "These papers got mixed up." "No mistake," I said, standing. "Fletcher is very thorough. He documents everything." I pulled out my own envelope. "Including these bank transfers from the family trust account, the ones you made without approval." "You had no right," Meredith shrieked. "Those records are private." "Like the charity's records?" I asked softly. The room erupted in confused questions, relatives demanding explanations, my mother crying again, but for a different reason now, my father trying to reach Meredith, who was backing away from the podium. "Enough!" Grandma's voice cut through the chaos. She turned to Meredith. "You wanted to expose the truth. Well, congratulations, you did." But not the truth you expected, I added. Meredith looked around wildly, seeing the faces of our family transform from shock to understanding to judgment. Then she ran, straight out of the ballroom, leaving her damning presentation behind. Grandma picked up her champagne glass. "Well," she said calmly, "I'd say this is turning out to be quite the memorable birthday party." She smiled at me. "And we haven't even had cake yet." The silence after Meredith's exit lasted exactly 12 seconds before my mother found her voice. "This is your fault," she shrieked, pointing at me. "You set her up." "Did I force her to hire a PI?" I asked calmly. "Did I make her steal from her charity?" "There must be an explanation," my father cut in. "Meredith wouldn't—" "Wouldn't what?" Grandma Emery's voice cracked like a whip. "Wouldn't lie, wouldn't steal, wouldn't try to publicly humiliate her sister." She picked up the scattered papers. "The proof is right here, Glenn. Your perfect daughter is a fraud." "And your other daughter," Presley spoke up from the back, "the one you called a failure, turns out she's the real success story." More relatives chimed in, the tide turning as the truth sank in. Aunt Linda asking about the missing charity funds meant for her daughter's medical treatment, Uncle Robert demanding to know about the trust account transfers, cousins scrolling through their phones, finding my company's website, my interviews, my achievements. "All this time," my mother whispered, sinking into a chair, "all these years you were—" "Successful," I supplied, "accomplished, everything you wanted Meredith to be?" "Why didn't you tell us?" my father demanded. "Would you have believed me?" I looked him straight in the eye. 5 years ago you said I'd fail, that I was nothing compared to Meredith. Well, here's the truth, Dad. While she was stealing from children's charities, I was building something real. I need to find Meredith." My mother stood up shakily. "She needs me." "Sit down, Hope." Grandma's tone froze her in place. "For once in your life, face what's in front of you instead of running to Meredith." A commotion at the door drew everyone's attention. Fletcher Mann walked in, holding a folder. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, nodding to me. "But there's something else you should all know. The police are here." My mother collapsed back into her chair. My father went pale. "I was required by law to report the charity fraud once I discovered it," Fletcher explained. "They've been building a case for weeks." Right on cue, 2 detectives entered the ballroom. They barely glanced at the birthday decorations as they approached our group. "We're looking for Meredith Francis," one said, showing his badge. She left," my mother whispered. "We know. We just arrested her in the parking lot." The room exploded again, relatives gasping, my mother sobbing, my father arguing with the detectives. Through it all, Grandma sat calmly, sipping her champagne. "Well," she said to me quietly, "was it worth the wait?" I watched my parents rushing out to find Meredith, watched my relatives huddled in shocked groups, sharing stories of how Meredith had borrowed money or made promises through her charity. "I didn't want this," I admitted. "I just wanted—" "The truth," Grandma finished, "and now everyone has it." She stood up, commanding attention like always. "This party's not over. My granddaughter, my successful, honest granddaughter, is finally home, and I want cake." Later, as servers cut the elaborate birthday cake Meredith had ordered, Presley brought me a glass of champagne. "That was intense," she said. "But you know what's crazy? No one's even surprised about Meredith anymore. They're all talking about you, about how they should have seen it." "Seen what?" "That you were the strong one, the real deal." She clinked her glass against mine. "Meredith tried to tear you down and exposed herself instead. That's some karma." My phone buzzed. A text from Hugh. "News about your sister's arrest is hitting the business feeds. Want me to handle PR?" "No," I typed back. "Let the truth speak for itself." "Jailer?" My father's voice made me look up. He stood awkwardly, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "Your mother and we're going to the police station. But first I need to say—" "Don't," I cut him off. "Save your apologies. They're 5 years too late." He nodded slowly, understanding finally showing in his eyes. "You really did it, didn't you? Everything we said you couldn't do. No, I corrected him. Everything you never bothered to see me do. As he walked away, Grandma raised her glass in my direction. Around us, relatives were already shifting, adapting to the new family dynamic, one where Meredith wasn't the golden child and I wasn't the failure. "Happy birthday, Grandma," I said, raising my glass in return. She smiled, that knowing smile that suggested she'd seen this coming all along. "Oh, sweetheart, this is just the beginning." My office phone rang at 2:43 a.m. The number was blocked, but I knew who it was. "Hello, Meredith." A pause, then. "How did you know?" "Because you always did your worst damage in the middle of the night." I leaned back in my chair, looking out at the city lights. "What do you want?" "I'm out on bail," she said, as if that explained everything. "Mum and Dad won't answer my calls. No one will. That tends to happen when you steal from sick children. I didn't." She stopped. "It wasn't supposed to be like this. You were supposed to be the failure, the disappointment, not me. Sorry to ruin your narrative. Can't you help me?" Her voice cracked. "You have money now, influence. You could make this go away. Like you tried to make me go away." Silence. "That's what I thought." I stood up, walking to the window. "Goodbye, Meredith." "Wait!" She was crying now. "Please, you're my sister." "No," I said quietly. "I stopped being your sister the day you decided to destroy me instead of accept me." I hung up, just as Hugh knocked on my door. "Late night?" he asked, noting my expression. "Just finishing some family business." I gestured to my laptop. "Did you see the email from Grandma?" He grinned. "The one about her new foundation? Pretty bold move, starting a children's charity to replace Meredith's. Even bolder, asking me to be on the board." I showed him the press release draft. "She wants to announce it next week." Speaking of announcements, he handed me a tablet. On it was an email from my mother. Subject line, "Please read." I almost deleted it, but something made me open it. "Jailer, your father and I are selling the house. The one we always said you weren't good enough to live up to. The one Meredith was supposed to inherit. We're donating the proceeds to Grandma's new foundation as restitution for what Meredith stole. We don't expect forgiveness. We don't deserve it. But you deserve to know that we finally see you, not as we wanted you to be, but as you are. You won. Not because you proved us wrong, but because you proved yourself right." "Mom, you okay?" Hugh asked softly. Before I could answer, my assistant Sarah buzzed in. "Miss Francis, your grandmother's here." Grandma Emery walked in, impeccable as always. "Good, you're both here. We need to talk about the foundation launch." "At 3 a.m? She smiled. "Best time for fresh starts?" She sat down, pulled out a folder. "The DA called. Meredith took a plea deal. She's going away for a while." "How long?" "Long enough to learn what it feels like to lose everything." She met my eyes. "Like you did once." "I didn't lose everything," I corrected her. "I left everything. There's a difference." "Yes, there is." She opened the folder. "Now, about this foundation, I'm thinking big. Real change, real help for families in need. No fake charities, no embezzlement, no lies." She looked up at me. "Think you can handle that?" I thought about Meredith's late-night call, about my mother's email, about that dinner 5 years ago when I walked away with nothing but my dignity. "Actually," I said, pulling up a proposal on my laptop, "I have some ideas." Hugh excused himself, leaving me with Grandma to plan something bigger than revenge, redemption. Not for Meredith, not for my parents, but for all the kids who needed what Meredith's charity had promised but never delivered. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Presley. "Family group chat is wild. Everyone's sharing your Forbes article. Even Uncle Robert admitted he was wrong about you. Times really do change." I showed it to Grandma, who laughed. "No, dear, times don't change. People do. Some grow stronger, some show their weakness. You just happened to do the former while your sister did the latter." "And my parents?" "They're learning." She patted my hand. But that's not your problem anymore. You've got bigger things to build. Looking at the foundation plans spread across my desk, I realized she was right. I didn't need revenge anymore. I didn't even need their approval. I had something better. The truth. Not just about who I'd become, but about who I'd always been. Stronger than their doubts, bigger than their limitations, and finally, completely free of their shadows. Ready to change some lives? Grandma asked, pen poised over the foundation papers. I signed my name, not as Meredith's sister, not as my parents' disappointment, but as exactly who I was meant to be. Always have been.